Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
'Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. There's still time. The AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM from the unceded Musqueam territory at the University of beautiful British Columbia. I'm Michael McCall.
And I'm Zachary Adam Eisenhammer.
And what a week it has been since the last episode.
Indeed.
Last few days in particular. I mean, I feel I've spent the last couple of days, Zach, just doing two things. Binging Traitors UK Season 1.
Nice.
And replying to lots of messages on Twitter and Blue Sky about the Whitecaps Stadium situation. Because so many folk were posting stuff and I wanted to reply to as much as I could. And it was quite overwhelming how many messages there was altogether. I don't know how famous people have handle social media, because
a lot of them have people to do that though, right?
Yeah, but I mean, even the people that have to do that, it's crazy when there's a big topic and there's so much chat. And I know you don't have to reply to everything, but I've always been of the opinion that social media is meant to be social media. Why have it if you're not interacting with people?
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of chat. I've had a lot of DMs, emails from various people. There's been a lot of WhatsApp discussions. And the big talking point we thought of the week was going to be Ryan Gauld's operation. That seems so far away now because we'll talk about that in this part, as well as all the transfers, comings and goings that there is in Whitecapsland. But the big news we'll cover in part two, which was the bombshell letter that went out to season ticket holders on Friday from the Whitecaps, and then Axel Schuster's media conference on Friday that we were both on about the stadium situation, which is feeling a lot direr than it did 3 or 4 days ago. So that's all to come in part two. We've got two fun feature interviews, though, to lift the mood to end the show. Part 3, get to have my first chat of the year with Whitecaps head coach Jesper Sorensen, just looking back on the year that was 2025 and the year ahead of 2026. That's coming up in part 3. Part 4, our other feature interview in this episode is with a CPL legend, Zach, that we've never actually had on the show one-to-one. But I got a chance to speak to Kyle Bekker this week, and trust me, if you've no interest in Forge or if the CPL doesn't interest you, it's a really, really good interview.
Entertaining, yeah.
And I would say there's no way that you listen to that and not come away thinking to yourself, tell you, I wish Kyle Bekker played for my club. His attitude, his mentality is everything you want from a footballer at your club. I'll tease that for part 4. We'll have our usual fun as well. Lots of music. We'll bring the latest instalment of Hot Chocolate Boy that I'm keeping short for this episode because there is so much to talk about, and some other fun chat we'll put in between as well. A busy week for me. I get a busy week. I'm assuming for you as well, Zach.
It was a great football week, man. Really, really, yeah, lots going on. Only one match that I got to attend part of. Traffic prohibited me from seeing some of it, but no, it was really, yeah, I had a great footballing week.
Yeah, and we were both at a fireside chat with Jesse Marsh on Saturday afternoon in downtown Vancouver. I mean, that was excellent. But
Yeah.
we'll unpack it all and talk Canadian men's national team stuff in our first extra podcast of the year that we are going to bring out on Wednesday. I think I'll drop that one. But that was an hour and a half, very interesting stuff.
That was one of two encounters I had with Jesse Marsh this
Well,
week.
yes. Well, yeah,
And
you were at a soiree
and they
on
were
Thursday night.
they were both incredible.
Yes. I mean, you moving in these circles that you do, you got to have drinks with Jesse on Thursday night. My invite clearly got lost somewhere along the way. I mean, that's okay. I invited you to the Saturday one, but that's fine.
You know, if I could have, I would have.
No, I know. I am just joshing. But if Jesse comes and does any more fireside chats and you see them advertised,
Oh,
genuinely
yeah,
get along.
it's
But,
worth
but
it.
we'll unpack some of what he said, as I mentioned in the extra podcast. And talking of the extra podcast, want to give our first show of the month shout out to our gold member subscribers for the extra podcasts: Cade Strelaw, Gib Van Aert, William Walls, Jason Schmidt, and Daniel Dang. They are all our $10 gold members. If you're not sure what that is, head along to aftn.ca, check on the Ko-fi link, or Ko-fi, I think it's Ko-fi for coffee. It says buy me a coffee, but click on that and you'll go through to AFTN's coffee page where you can just donate. You can become a silver tier subscriber for $5 a month or a gold member for $10 a month. You can, of course, subscribe to our extra podcast for $30 a year or $3 a month. Thank you to everyone that subscribes, whether it's the $3 level, the 5, the 10, the 30. We appreciate you all. We brought 16 or 17 extra podcasts out last year, and we haven't done any yet in 2026. I'd hope to have one on women's soccer in January, but Har and me were going to do something, but it just never kind of worked together. So that will be to come. But our first one will come out this week, so watch for that. Subscribers in your email boxes.
So, hearing those names, I gotta check and see if this Jason Schmidt is the Jason Schmidt I know and went to school with.
Oh, it very well might be.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it is, Jason, get in touch with Zach. A couple of things just to talk about in the intro before we get into the meat and potatoes. Long-time listeners, or not even that long, if you were listening to us in December, you'll have heard me chat to Jesse Adcock
Oh, yeah.
from Vancouver's 2026 organising committee,
Frustration.
where I asked the question, will the fan fest in Vancouver at the PNE be free? Yes, she said. And technically, it is.
My
Unless you want to actually watch the games at the fan fest, apparently.
ridiculous. Ridiculous.
I mean, I didn't
Don't get me started about FIFA and
Oh, man. Like, when I asked the question, she said, oh, no, it's free. We want everyone to be there. We're looking for 25,000. I was like, well, that's odd because the amphitheatre's not holding 25,000. But I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I didn't think for a second to follow up and say, is it free for everyone? Because you would just assume the fan fest would be. But it would appear that if you want to be in the new amphitheatre and you want to watch the games on the big screen there, it is going to cost money. We don't know how much, but it will be ticketed. And that is very disappointing.
yeah. Yeah, hugely disappointing. I totally understand it being ticketed. Like having the first time I think they really did these was in 2006 in Germany. And I visited not all, I visited every city. I don't think I went. I definitely didn't go into every fan fest, but some of them I know for sure. You had to line up, and they wouldn't let you in because there was too many people. And then when people left, then they let more people in, kind of thing. With like a fire
Yes.
marshal capacity
Well,
kind of.
that's what they did for the downtown fan fest for the Olympics in
Yeah,
2010.
yeah. So that all makes sense and stuff, but And obviously, yeah, you assume it's gonna be popular. I hope the food is more like 2006 than 2022.
Well, I mean, they'll have food trucks galore. And I mean, if it's just a token nominal ticket price to cover like producing the ticket service fees, stuff like that, and it's under a tenner, maybe that is acceptable because you still have to produce the tickets, etc.
Yeah.
But if they're actually charging 10, 15, 20 to go and watch the games, I have no interest in that whatsoever.
Yeah, I guess like I said, I think I texted you when we were talking about
Yeah.
this initially. Yeah, I feel it's crazy. What I would say is though, if I can, if it works in my schedule during the tournament stuff, I think I will go once so I can compare it to Doha
Yeah,
and
that's
to
fair. I'll
Germany.
go to the fan fest, but the free bit, just to check it out and
Yeah,
just experience
well,
it.
I think I'll try and do both. I think I'll try and go to the free part and take in a game. It'll be interesting if they're charging and it's like per game or per match day. That's the other thing, right? Because there's
Yeah,
four games a
I
day.
mean, I know the old, oh, if you assume it makes an ass out of you and me, I
Yeah,
assumed it was per match day. If it's per match, then that's even more scandalous.
yeah,
But there's four games a day.
yeah,
That's a
exactly.
long time to be up at the P&E for as well.
But yeah, but then especially they don't allow like which they didn't in Doha for sure. You couldn't bring in your own food.
Oh, you won't. There's no
Or
way
yeah.
they'll. I
So
mean, but you
so
can
they,
smuggle it in. Like when you go to the cinema as a
no, no,
Scottish
no,
person.
no, dude, not not in Doha, my friend. No, there was like they went through your bags. There was like what do you call it? The metal detectors, everything. Like you had to, yeah. I think it was going
Stuff
to
a
be fine.
hot dog down your pants. Trust me, they would not have checked that.
Oh
But
my.
the amphitheater has gone way over in costs. And it does
Yeah,
feel that this is a way that they're now going to try
recoup.
and rein some of these costs in.
Yeah.
But it's not all bad news. Ken Sim, Vancouver Mayor, has what I have to say. And if I'm wrong in this, I will apologise to Ken Sim. He won't care, but I'll still apologise. He'll never hear this. I think he's got a pie in the sky notion that BC Place is going to be open on non-game days for everyone to come in and watch the games free on the big screen. FIFA are not going to let all these people come into BC Place.
Yeah, number one, I would be shocked. Number two, again, if that were to happen, it wouldn't be free.
Well, he's saying it's free, and he wants that to be free viewings. I think, again, in an election year, this is trying to put something out there, and he'll be like, oh, I tried to get this done, but FIFA said no.
Yeah.
That FIFA are not going to let
No.
willy-nilly people come in, because you've also got teams that are going to be wanting to train there as well.
Well, no, but I mean, it's a security and logistical thing.
Oh, yes.
You
Someone
can't
could plan anything that maybe gets missed.
exactly. So you'd have to have just as much security as at a match, and then you'd have to do that many more sweeps. Like literally, like what days? It would be like probably Monday or Tuesday. They're doing like a sweep at Willoughby, of all stadiums
Wow.
with all the whatever. They have to do like technically I think it's called like a bomb sweep. Like
Well, it makes sense.
the first time I remember hearing of this was I would have talked to you about it at the time was 2014. Do you remember my friend Andy, who's good friends with Flo? He's in the Red Munichs with Flo. Um, he was talking to Ken Puckett at PDX or at Providence Park or Piggy Park, as you like to call it. But he was talking to him before, like the day before the game, saying, "Hey, we're flying back on the plane with the team." And he was both a supporter and works for Bayern. And he was like, "Hey, can I bring my carry on and just leave
Oh,
it here?"
yes.
And Ken's like, "Dude, you cannot do that. There's no way or no how we can make that happen because we're doing the bomb sweep the day before and we can't allow anything in the stadium afterwards." So that's when I was like, "Hey, Andy, you can throw it. I'm going to
Yeah.
park across the street. You can throw it in my car." And that's how I ended up there. After there, a few of the guys did that. They put their luggage in my car, and then I drove them to the airport, and that's how I met Beckenbauer and like all those awesome, all the awesome
See,
team.
soirees and just hobnobbing with the big
Yeah.
wigs. Next, it'll be Gianni and you going for drinks,
Oh,
breaking
well,
bread.
I do have that time where after the U20 World Cup final, I met I met Sepp Blatter and Jack Werner and Gerhard Meyer-Frohlfelder. And
Oh, well, the last FIFA thing, Sepp Blatter's come out this week and said, I think we should be boycotting this World Cup on moral grounds. Sepp Blatter has morality and moral grounds. Amazing stuff.
You sure he didn't say, like, unless all the players were shorter? Sure.
We still have to watch that horrendous movie.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, that is our intro. We'll get into the Whitecaps chat in a second. But first of all, it's February. It's the 16th annual Vancouver Hot Chocolate Festival. And that can only mean one thing. It's time for Hot Chocolate Boy.
Hot chocolate boy, he's never had one. Hot chocolate bad one. Hot chocolate boy.
Yes, it's time for another Hot Chocolate Boy. And this week we're only bringing you one selection, partly because we've got so much to talk about football-wise. I didn't want to take up too much time talking about hot chocolate. We were going to go out for a second one on Sunday, but the weather and just such a busy couple of days in the soccer world, we thought we'll save that. So we'll bring you a couple more over the next couple of weeks. And the one that we are going to bring you and review in this episode isn't even available for you to get anymore. It was only available from January 17th to the 30th. It's number 214 in the festival programme. It's from the wonderful Union Market in the Strathcona area of the city, Campfire Crush. Now, Union Market is owned by friend of the show and Whitecaps fan, Aman Ludu. It's a place I wanted to get out to last year, and just in general, actually, to check out this stuff, and I've never made it along. So it was our first visit, and I guarantee we're going to be back. So Campfire Crush was a rich cookie butter hot chocolate, creamy, spiced, topped with a toasted s'mores cookie. It was a buckwheat cookie with toasted marshmallow, a kind of graham cracker inside it. Oh, it was absolutely delicious. In all the years that we've been going to the Hot Chocolate Festival, my wife and myself, I think both agree that this is right up there, if not the best treat that we've had at the Hot Chocolate Festival. It was so good. The hot chocolate as well was delicious. The whole thing cost $14. So one of the more expensive ones that we've been to so far this year at the festival, but I would say it's a full-size treat, and I felt it was worth every penny, even though both myself and my wife were in a little bit of a sugar coma by the time we got home after having it. Worth it though. And I got in touch with Aman about it, and he said they are considering it to get added to their permanent menu, and I really hope they do, because everyone should go and get this cookie at some point, and everyone should head along to Union Market as well and support the local business. And that's what the Hot Chocolate Festival is about. It's the 16th annual year of it, and aside from enjoying hot chocolates and adding a little bit of joy in what can be a dark January for a lot of people, it was to help support local independent coffee shops and chocolatiers in what is usually quite a quiet month for them after Christmas in January. And Union Market ticks all those boxes. If you do want to get along and check it out, they've got another one that is starting, or has started now. It started on January 31st, runs to Valentine's Day. Number 215 in the programme, Fireside Cream, which is a white hot chocolate with custard and caramel notes. And the goodie this time is a toasted panna cotta nestled inside a sweet cookie. And if it's anything like their Campfire Crush one, it's going to be fantastic. So at Union Market, 810 Union Street in Vancouver, go and check them out. And we'll be back with hopefully a couple of additions to chat about in the next episode. But that was this week's Hot Chocolate Boy.
Every girl yelling, wanting him to be the terror. Hot chocolate boy, he's a sensation. Hot chocolate nation. chocolate boy.
So remember, you've still got up until February 14th, Valentine's Day, to get out and enjoy the 16th Vancouver Hot Chocolate Festival. Keep all your photos and recommendations coming on social media as well. I'm loving seeing them, adding some to my list. Have to admit, taking some off my list that maybe haven't looked as good as I was hoping for or whatever. And yeah, I mean, there's only a certain number that I can get to for my health over the course of the month. But yeah, keep them all coming in. We'll be back with another Hot Chocolate Boy in the next episode of the show. So let's get in to the football chat now and start our Whitecaps chat. That is going to be dominating the first three parts of this episode. Oh boy, what a week it has been in Whitecapsland. An interesting week. Not necessarily a fun-filled one. It has to be said. A lot to talk about. We'll touch on the whole stadium thing in part 2 onwards. But we'll look at the on-the-pitch stuff for the rest of this part. The soccer stuff that Axel Schuster would have loved to have just been talking about when he spoke to media on Friday. But other topics kind of dominated to that to a little extent anyway. But yeah, let's look at all the on-pitch stuff in Whitecapsland since the last show came out. And let's start with our captain, your captain, the Whitecaps captain, Ryan Gauld. I think that was one of the biggest talking points we thought from the week when it was announced on Tuesday that Gauldy unfortunately underwent an arthroscopic debridement procedure on his left knee on Tuesday afternoon in Innsbruck in Austria. That's the bad news. The good news is it was a successful operation and he's expected to make a full recovery by April. Now, Gauldy initially suffered a left knee capsule sprain and bone contusion last March. He returned to game action in October, way after everyone expected it. We were hoping he might even be able to go in the Champions Cup final at the start of June. Then we thought end of June. Then we were thinking July, August, September. It just kept getting pushed back, it felt. And eventually returning to game action in October. Great introduction, scoring in the Canadian Championship as well. Now, he had 3 goals, 3 assists in his 15 games played in all of 2025. After his return, he really wasn't able to go the full 90. 60 minutes at a push, 30 to 45, the more standard thing that we saw from him. And at some points last year, I think we all wondered, is this a lot more serious than we first thought it was going to be? I mean, if you've followed what's been happening with Ricky Puig down in LA, it's just gone from bad to worse there for him. And you're thinking, well, let's hope it's not going to be the same situation for Ryan. Hopefully, this finally clears things up for Ryan. So basically, they've cleaned his knee out. They had discussions with a specialist as to whether they should just let it rest again or whether they should go for the operation. The specialist indicated the recovery time was going to be the same. So they've bitten the bullet. They felt it's best just to get the operation done. And there's a lot of questions. Why did they wait this long to get it done? They wanted it to heal naturally if they can. You don't really want to have operations on your knee if you can. From chatting to people that's had knee operations, they've all said their knee is never the same after the operation. They lose part of it. And the more operations you have on your knee, the smaller it gets, the weaker it can get. So that's always a last resort, if possible. Ryan himself felt that it was going to be good to come back in June, but just wasn't passing the final tests in his Whitecaps physicals. did make the comeback. He thought he was good to go. We spoke to him in January before the Whitecaps flew out to Marbella. He was raring to go, felt he was healthy. Everyone thought he was going to be good to go for the start of the season, but things just didn't feel right when he got onto the pitch in Marbella. That's when the specialist came in. Hopefully, this finally clears things up for Ryan, having it all kind of cleaned out, sees him get back to pretty much a full rest of the season once he does return. It does feel that it might be the death knell for his World Cup hopes, but I mean, that was maybe getting a little bit out of reach for him anyway, with him not playing. But you've just got to hope that this is it now, and we've got Ryan Gauld back after this.
Yeah, it is really awkward for the World Cup because the entire fan base, I think, in Vancouver would love to see him there.
Yeah.
I think you, as a Scotsman and someone who follows things closer than I do, say he is a player that they could use, and maybe not as a starter, but definitely could use.
Definitely off the bench. Like, he would be a player that could make a difference. And we know what Ryan Gauld brings on the pitch.
So it's unfortunate because Steve Clark hasn't shown that he rates him, and this will, like you said, could be the final nail in the coffin for him, but hopefully not. Hopefully this is something he returns from just as good or better than before, and he has a great run in April, May, and somehow gets selected. We also don't know, right? You correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is FIFA has not announced if it's going to be 23, 26, 30 man roster.
Not that I've seen anywhere.
Yeah. So
I mean, in Ryan's case as well, like a full recovery by April. What does that mean? On the pitch by April? I'd be surprised. He still has to get up to match fitness.
Yeah.
So there's a good chance that he's not playing 90 minutes until after the World Cup break. So, I mean, just as long as this is it now and he doesn't feel any more, and by all accounts, this should be the end of it. And I know folk do question why wasn't it done sooner, but it's a last resort. Like I said earlier, you want to do this as a last resort because your knee's never the same.
No, and fair enough. I think Axel's in, and I think I've heard Jesper talk about this as well. They've both given like really good, like clearly communicated about why this is happening now,
and the prognosis is good.
Yeah, and so gutted for Gauldy, and disappointed for the squad and obviously the fans, but there was something that happened last year when they had to play without him. And you can't say it's going to happen again. And it's a different situation because obviously they have Thomas Muller, they don't have some other dudes, but you kind of trust that this squad under Jesper will be able to make do until he returns.
That unfortunate news aside, it's been a week of comings and goings down Whitecaps way. Let's kick things off first of all. We're looking at the departures. So we mentioned on last week's show all the transfer rumours out there were Jodrich Pupa was going to be heading out on loan to Belgian second-tier side KV Kortrijk. That was the rumoured landing spot for him. We mentioned it kind of did feel a little bit of a step backwards. He'd been promoted from the second tier to the top flight before making the move over to MLS. But they were a former club of Pupa's. They were battling to go straight back up again so he could experience back-to-back promotions. Then word kind of came out that Pupa had said no to the deal, but the reason for that being a more attractive offer came along, and it was confirmed on Thursday that he's been loaned to Belgium top-tier side St. Trudenzi VV through to June 2026 with the loan agreement including an option to purchase. And STVV, as they are known, are in a three-way battle just now with USG and Club Brugge for the Jupiler League title. And it's a great opportunity for him. He was on the bench for their 2-0 home loss to Charleroi on Saturday. Didn't come on though. They were down to 10 men for the whole second half. So it was a big point dropped in that race for the title. At the end of their game on Saturday, it saw them staying second in the table, a point off top, but having played that extra game with the other teams catching up on Sunday. So we wish Jodrick all the very best on that move. Not the only Whitecap, though, that looks to be heading off. Giuseppe Bovalina is also heading out on loan. The exact landing spot still to be confirmed, but his Italian passport has opened up European doors for him. So expect an announcement next week that he is going to be heading off to a club over in Europe, and good for him. I thought he might return to the A-League, but he does need a better challenge. He needs to be playing, and I think this is going to be a very good move for him. And who knows, if he really excels, can come back maybe to the Whitecaps down the line. I like Bova. I've spoken before on the show. He is a player that at training, he's almost every training session, the last Whitecap player out on that pitch. And I love that work ethic. Wish him all the very best. And hopefully we can see him back in a Whitecaps jersey someday as well. Is he going to be the only one moving on? We're going to look at the additions shortly, but it does feel that for these additions, other players have to move on. JC and Gando, maybe next. Maybe Nelson Pierre. And the reason I'm mentioning them is the CONCACAF Champions Cup preliminary rosters came out this past week, and clubs can register up to 35 players, but once you register a player, you can't take that player off. So right now, the Whitecaps have only named 18 players to their roster, and there's a lot of names missing. Some of them just arrived, some are injured, but others like Pierre and Ngando and Bovalina weren't. So that saw people reading things into it, but you don't know how much you can read into that, because any club that hasn't registered their 35 players can continue to add players up to 44 hours before each match, provided it doesn't exceed the 35 player total. And as I mentioned, once players are added, they can't be removed or replaced, so you've really got to play this sensibly, because you don't know what's going to happen down the road in the tournament. Clubs have to select 18 to 23 players from their list up to 44 hours before each match as well. So the first one for the Whitecaps is going to be February 18th. So I think that's an interesting one to watch, Zach, to see who else might be moving out from the Whitecaps.
The lack of inclusion on the CCL roster, although it doesn't mean, or sorry, CCC roster, although it doesn't mean they can't be added later. It is a little concerning for Ngando and Pierre, but like you said, they could still be added. Also, Ngando, I don't know as much, but Pierre, it feels like a loan might be great for him.
Yeah.
Where, like he could be...
Even a short-term one up to the World Cup break.
Yeah.
Get those regular minutes at a level above WFC2.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, he could be like a Hugo. No, I'm not necessarily saying at Vancouver C, but he could be a great player in the CPL, go out, get confidence, bag a bunch of goals, get, the minutes, the playing time, the experience. And yeah, whether it's short term or season or whatever, that could be really, really helpful. You got to imagine if like an MLS club loans a player like that to CPL, that even if they have to pay one of those, hey, we're bringing him back early fees, it wouldn't break their bank, kind of thing. So even if they had to say, hey, yeah, it's season long, but they know, hey, in July we might bring him back, or whatever.
I mean, his minutes look like they might be getting diminished by some of the other news that's come out now.
Yes,
we've got some more additions. It was a very busy Friday as the Whitecaps announced 3 player signings, 2 new and 1 returning. Axel Schuster had done an interview on Global TV where he teased there was going to be 4 additions, 3 new and 1 like new. And as soon as he said that, myself and many others thought, that could be Bilal Halbuni. And indeed it was. He was the returning player. I think that's probably going to shoot down any of the centre-back rumours that are kind of swirling out there as well. We said last week, if they're looking to add another centre-back, they'd be as well bringing Bilal back. He knows the system. He has chemistry. Yeah, there was a few wobbles last year when he played, but he did excellent. He did well enough when called upon to bring him back. He was on an option year, so it might just be a case that they were always interested in him, but his option was maybe higher than they wanted to pay. But also Halbuni needs to play. And I guess he's weighed up his options as well, coming off an injury. He knows everyone here, and he will get playing time because the Whitecaps are going to be playing on four fronts this coming season. So Halbuni is signed through to the June 2027 season, the short window, with an option for the 2027-2028 season. So, I mean, it makes sense to bring him back, Zach.
Yeah, I'm happy for him. I think it's a good decision. When is he like? Is he like? I forget. Where's his fitness and health?
Well, when they went down, he said that he should be good to start training again in February.
Okay.
So it should be soon.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Hopefully everything, he fully recovers from that. There's no issues. But I really appreciated the role he played in the side last year, and yeah, would love to see more of him when he's ready, and think he could be again play another key role as they're dealing with multiple people coming back from significant injuries. And yeah.
Four tournaments this year as well. Four competitions.
I really grew to really like him last year.
Yeah. I love his passion. I love his aggression.
Mm-hmm.
So let's look at the two new additions that were announced on Friday. Bruno Caicedo, we spoke about him in the last show. It's now a done deal. The Ecuadorian forward, the 21-year-old, has agreed to an under-22 initiative contract through to the end of the 2028-29 MLS season, with a club option for the following year. He'll join up with the Whitecaps in Marbella and will be officially added to the roster pending receipt of his international transfer certificate, visa, work permit, medical, all that kind of stuff. So we talked a lot about him and what he offers on last week's show, so we won't revisit that. If you want to hear our thoughts on that, listen to the last episode. Axel said that he's been on the club's radar for a while, and I think it's great to see that the Ecuadorian media feel that the Whitecaps are getting a bargain. Now, Axel noted in his media availability on Friday that the initial thinking is that it's a long-term project. They don't necessarily expect him to come in and have an impact right away, but it's also up to how well the player does, how he acclimatises to the city, to the squad, to the league. So we could see him come in and make a big impact. The other addition, but this has also kind of been brought on by Ryan Gauld's injury and the departures of Ali Ahmed and Jaden Nelson. American midfielder stroke attacker Aziel Jackson. Is it a stopgap addition? Is it going to be a permanent one? Right now, it is a loan until June with the option to buy. And Jackson has experience in Major League Soccer with Minnesota, St. Louis, Columbus. In the 3 seasons that he played in MLS from 2023 to 2025, 68 games played, 32 of those were starts, 5 goals, 7 assists, 5 of those assists coming in 2024. Not huge output, it has to be said. He joined Polish Ekstraklasa side, and I'm going to butcher this, so apologies to any Polish listeners in advance, Jagiellonia Białystok, just in July. 11 games played for them, no goals, just the 1 assist. Mostly, he's played as an attacking midfielder, number 10. Can also play centre forward. He can play wide too. Now, his output at the top level for me is a little concerning, but this could be a chance for him to show what he still has to kind of reignite his career. We've seen that with other players that the Whitecaps have looked to bring in here. It's up to him now as a Whitecap to take this opportunity. He has to perform to earn that permanent deal, to show that he's got this career that had all this interest in him still inside him. So you like to have a player with that kind of motivation, the need to impress and coming in. He is going to be like another Emmanuel Sabby, another Jaden Nelson, and not just because of the hair. He has to come in, impress, perform. That can only be a good thing for the Caps.
I like that. This is the type of thing they needed to do, like we talked about. Like if you, with losing both Nelson and Ali Ahmed, there needs to be more options. And this seems like that kind of depth option who will, but he'll also get the opportunity every so often, right? So yeah, I like it. I agree with you. The 6 months seems like it makes sense. If it works, they can maybe extend or whatever. But and if it doesn't go well, then okay, then you move on. You bring in someone else. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, whenever we have our first chat with him, I've got my very first question. When he was in the US, he was called AZ. Will he be known as AZ in Canada?
It doesn't tend to happen, unfortunately.
It will if I have my way. I've also got a song for him, sadly, if he doesn't take his chances.
Oh,
I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Ooh.
Goodness. Oh my God.
But moving on. So Axel mentioned on Friday that there were these 3 additions, but there was one more still to come. And the general expectation, or I guess maybe hope, that it was going to be a striker with a bit more experience than Ryan Illumi and Nelson Pierre to be the backup to White, kind of be the Daniel Rios of this season, but hopefully with more production when it comes to goals. And it would appear, according to Foot Mercato journalist Santi Ayouna, that man is 26-year-old Senegalese attacker Sheikh Sabali. Sabali plays for Metz in Ligue 1 and was instrumental in their promotion from the second tier in France last year. 15 goals, 4 assists in 36 matches for Metz in League 2 in the last season. That includes 3 playoff games as well as they got promotion. He played mostly as a forward in League 2, but this year in Ligue 1, he's been mostly played on the wing, and his production hasn't been as good, with just 2 assists in his 14 games played. Now, Metz are rock bottom of Ligue 1 right now. Sabali has kind of fallen out of favour with him. He wasn't in the squad for any of the last 5 League and Cup games in December and January, so it makes sense that they were wanting to move him on. Yes, you can ask questions if he wasn't good enough for the French top flight. Is the second tier in France maybe his level? How will he kind of look when he comes to MLS? And I guess that is something that we will soon find out. Transfer Market has him noted as playing as a striker, a 10, both wing positions, with his best production coming as a left winger, 11 goals, 9 assists in 64 games there, with 12 goals and 3 assists as a centre forward in 33 games, and 4 goals and 5 assists in 28 games played on the right wing. He's been capped 12 times for Senegal, wasn't part of their most recent AFTN squad, last played for them as a sub actually in 2 friendlies in November. So it's an interesting and exciting addition, Zach, and I guess only time will tell how he will adapt to MLS, but he's going to have a good supporting cast around him. And yeah, I'm excited from watching his highlights reel to see what he might offer the Whitecaps.
And so, yeah, I like the upside of this. Is there an ETA on this?
I mean, it just broke really over the weekend. I would imagine it's going to get announced this week. So then he has to get up to speed. So, I mean, he's going to be the backup to White. And him and Illumi, I guess, will be fighting for those off the bench minutes as a striker. But he can play out wide as well. And he's produced out wide. Mm-hmm. But I think what the Whitecaps are going to like about him is he comes with a little bit of experience. So he's older than both Pierre and Illumi, and some of the other wingers that we have as well. But he can play all along the front line in all the positions. So it gives them that flexibility. So we'll see how he fits in. We'll see how they all fit in. The first matches were played in not so sunny Spain, but turned into a little bit sunny. It was a 2-0 loss on Tuesday to Ukrainian side Policia Zaitomir. Atrocious conditions. I mean, they needed a submarine, never mind a sub off the bench.
The first thing I saw from this was like Thomas Muller talking about it on his social media.
Yeah, some brilliant pictures. I mean, I've talked about how I had toyed with going over. When I saw that game, I was like, oh, I'm so glad I haven't.
Yeah.
And it's rained so much,
Yeah.
as we spoke to Ralph about last week, as we speak to Jesper about this week. But I would have loved to have been there to see Alexander Usyk come on and play against the Whitecaps and maybe get a chance to talk to him, because I'm a big boxing fan, absolute legend. And you've got the world heavyweight champion coming on and playing against you in a football match. I mean, it's incredible.
And defeating you.
Yes. Well, he didn't score, thankfully.
No.
That would have been worse. I don't know. You can't take too much from that.
No.
The conditions were awful. The second half nearly didn't even get played.
Yeah.
I would say Seba looked fairly decent from what I saw.
Yeah.
The first goal, a little concerning because once again, Kubis was pressurised and turned the ball over.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's the conditions, but he just held on to it too long. But again, I would say his teammates did not help him by creating some space for him and giving the ball to him with 3 players around him. The second game on Saturday at least was played in lovely conditions.
Yeah.
And I've been to Marbella. It's a beautiful city. And you got to see with some of the shots, the sea in the background, the palm trees. 1-0 win against Korean side Incheon United. 12th minute goal from Brian White. Ole Laraz looking good in the setup to this, giving it to Muller, a little touch inside with Muller. White still had a lot to do, but found room to get the shot off, finished well. Great to see him already on the score sheet.
Yeah. The Oliver Laraz, really enjoyed our conversation with him and really excited for him, and good to see him be involved in this way. And
I had a few folk message going, really enjoyed that. He seems such a great lad. And I'm looking forward, and now we're seeing him on the pitch as well, and he's right away clicking and linking.
Yeah. And the Whitecaps, this is what the Whitecaps need.
Yeah.
They need to have like Brian White at the top of a mountain and just push him down the hill and just let him roll the whole season. So the fact that he's gotten off the mark early, and there's some of that chemistry already happening. Thomas is involved. Yeah, really, really, really encouraging.
Some players still haven't featured. Schonlow, Basti Schonlow's still not good to go. Sabi's missed these 2 games, but before anyone panics, it's just a personal thing, so don't worry about that. Ocampo as well hasn't played, and I forgot to ask about Ocampo as to why. So fingers crossed that is more a fitness and there's not an injury or anything there. 3 more games to go. Next one is on Wednesday, February 4th, another K-League side, Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors. Now, I've heard their midfield's got a good engine to them. This is why it's good I'm not there doing commentary. Aside from my butchered pronunciation, because then on Sunday, February 8th, they play 2 games. Sparta Prague B, sadly not Dukla Prague, because they might have won the Dukla Prague away kit.
Yeah.
And IF Broma Pozhkarna, which I've actually said way better than I thought I was going to say.
Yeah.
So, I mean, after that...
Is that a Swedish club?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So they then come back here. There's a couple of days they've got off. They might have 1 day training here before they fly off to Costa Rica. So it's all go. A lot of air miles, a lot of travel. We'll look at more on-pitch action in the next show. Unfortunately, even in a week with all the Ryan Gauld news, the big Whitecaps news is off the pitch, or off the peach. It's off the pitch. We can't seem to have nice things in Vancouver. 2025 started with a lot of uncertainty off the pitch. Turned out great on it. Maybe 2026 is going to be the same way. We are back talking stadium issues once again after the first of 2 songs this episode from our new Artist of the Month.
Hey, I'm Bilal Halbouni, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Madam, you see before you stand. Hey, ho, never be still. The old original favourite grand. Grasshoppers, green Bavarian band. And the tune they play is an husk and pie. So the trip to even ho, up, down, to and fro. You have no word. Please leave us here. Optimistic shining feet. Well, the mad cat laughed at the man on the border. Hey, hey, ho, off the toilet. He'd run, shouted kangaroo. So through in that tree they cried, please leave us here. Close our eyes to the octopus ride.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's the first of two songs you're going to hear in this episode from our new Artist of the Month for February. Mentioned last month when I played television personalities I Know Where Syd Barrett Lives, that we should have Syd Barrett as the Artist of the Month. So that's exactly what we're going to do. The tortured genius that was Syd Barrett. We will play his songs throughout the month of February. Having gone with a band from the late 70s, 80s in last month, we've gone even earlier now, as he released his first solo single in 1969 on November 14th. You just heard it there to kick off this part, Octopus. And it was a song that was recorded over about a 14-month period, 3 different recording sessions, with a little break for Syd in psychiatric care in between. And Syd Barrett would have been 80 if he was still alive this year. His birthday would have been on January 6th. Died sadly in 2006, aged 60, after a history of mental illness, mental breakdowns, a lot of it brought on from his drug use. He released 2 solo albums, so we'll play songs kind of spanning those over the month of February. And if you know Syd Barrett's work, then you're in for a fun month. If you don't, you're in for an entertaining, if a little bit of a wild and weird ride as well. And the song you heard there, Octopus, features the line, well, the mad cat laughed at the man on the border, which was misheard as the Mad Cap Laughs, which became the name of his first debut solo album in 1970. And that song there, Octopus, you can find on that album. So lots of good music to come from Syd, another one to kick off part 3. But we'll get back to the football chat now, back talking Whitecaps. And going in to the 2025 season, there was a lot of questions, a lot of uncertainty swirling around the team. Everyone knew the club was up for sale. Would they be able to keep the club in Vancouver? That was the big burning question. Vanni Sartini had been fired. What was the new coach going to be like? Who was going to be the new coach? How would they adjust? How would they hit the ground running? In the end, 2025 turned out to be, on the pitch, the most successful year in the club's MLS era. 4 cup finals, 4 straight Canadian championships. Unlucky to not come away winning the MLS Cup, but being crowned Western Conference champions, and of course reaching the CONCACAF Champions Cup final. It was a great debut year for Jesper Sorensen, and the worries off the pitch started to ease a little bit. We knew that there was interest in buying the club. Everything pointed to the club wanting to stay in Vancouver from the offset, and now having people interested in buying the club that was going to keep it here, with the existing ownerships maybe not fully walking away and still being involved. And the year ended with the great news that a memorandum of understanding had been signed to work on the Whitecaps getting a stadium of their own, a place to call their own, up at Hastings Racecourse. And it was a great year. It was a great ending to the year. There were still some concerns flying around. Could the team hold on to all their top talent? That was the big on-pitch question. The other one was, how could they follow the best year in the club's history? And that we still have to find out. Off the pitch, the only real kind of concern I think that folk were still a little bit wary about was all the chatter about the deal at BC Place. Don Garber had come up here in November. Much was made about how the deal the Whitecaps were getting at BC Place from Pavco was not suitable for them. A new deal had to get worked out. They hadn't signed a deal to play the 2026 season. That was pretty much going to be a formality, but what was it going to look like after that? Everyone thought things would get sorted out, but there was genuine concern there because, of course, the options for the Whitecaps to play MLS games in front of 20,000 plus in Vancouver is limited right now to BC Place. But I think the general feeling was, yeah, all the off-field stuff wouldn't be the big talking point as we went into 2026. And to be honest, to start the year, it wasn't. But things have changed pretty dramatically in the last couple of days. And it started on Friday morning when the Whitecaps sent a letter out to season ticket holders, and it was covering a lot of stuff about new signings and just updating what they can expect this year at BC Place with the World Cup renovations, and then talking about the challenges that the club were just facing in general over the past 10 months in negotiations with BC Place. The letter talked about the unbalanced schedule because BC Place wasn't going to be available for the Whitecaps for a couple of months. It talked about how certain matches would have to be played at alternate venues, which would mean that there'd be fewer seats available and not all season ticket holders would necessarily be able to get seats to those games. But the most concerning aspect was the revelation that BC Place Pavco had come back to the Whitecaps, offered the best deal that they could offer them as a crown corporation, but it was nowhere near meeting what the Whitecaps were looking for. So the letter said that the current structure makes it extraordinarily difficult for Whitecaps FC to operate sustainably, regardless of our on-field success, record attendance numbers, or BC Place's willingness to help within the boundaries they face. The letter talked about additional events outside of the World Cup that were being hosted at BC Place this year, limiting the weeks that were available outside the World Cup window, further reducing the Whitecaps' flexibility in scheduling MLS regular season matches. And the letter says that unfortunately, this challenge extends beyond 2026. It reflects deeper structural constraints that make it harder for Whitecaps FC to compete at the highest level and undermines Vancouver's ability to sustain world-class professional soccer. Now, that letter, the wording of it, set alarm bells ringing. Big discussions online, Twitter, Blue Sky, Facebook, on Reddit, as to what this meant for the future of the Whitecaps. And Whitecaps CEO Axel Schuster then had media availability on Friday afternoon. I think primarily Axel was wanting to talk about the new signings that had been added to the club and talk about the on-field stuff. He knew that he would get some questions about the stadium, but for me, that is the most important aspect right now. And I want to play you some audio from what Axel told media on Friday. So a couple of questions from Asa Raymond from Global TV, a couple of questions from myself on that. And I know many of you already have heard this, but there's a lot of people that's going to have listened to this that haven't. But we also want to break down some of the big talking points coming out of this kind of bombshell news that dropped on Friday. So it's important to hear Axel talk about it in his own words, and then Zach and me will look into it a little bit more. So here's Axel S.
Yeah, we'll start with the stadium situation in BC Place, Axel. I know that fans were alerted that some games won't be at BC Place this season. What can you tell us about the current situation with BC Place and the Vancouver Whitecaps?
Yeah, I was hoping we would start with sporting things, but it's okay. Yeah, it's we had, and we always want to be transparent. And I think I always want to be honest and share everything. And sometimes it feels like I'm deflecting and I'm saying all these nice things, but that's actually where we have been. And we thought, like, before we really go into the season, it's now time to update and inform our season ticket holders that we go through some challenges. And why we are speaking about it now is because we had, I would say, very friendly and good conversations with PAFCO and BC Place. And we have the feeling that's really the best they can offer to us. So it's from our side, it feels like there's nothing left. There's the progress has come to an end. And I really want to point out, and I think in the season ticket member letter, we also have said that PAFCO and BC Place really tried and to put the best effort in, but it still leaves us in a very difficult situation, and that leaves us in a situation where we cannot play all games in BC Place, where I would say the challenges we have and we have raised cannot be addressed in a way that it is really bettering our situation in a good way. So it was time to be transparent and to share with everyone. And where do we play these games? I mean, some of the games we will play in our market, and we are in conversations with the other venues that are even an option for such games with all the limited capacity we have there. But there will also be games that we will not be playing in our market because, for example, in the Leagues Cup scenario, MLS will then move the game into another MLS market and play the game in another MLS market. And so we will lose one of the home games that we have qualified for, and we'll have to play it on the road.
Are all of the alternate venue options local or regional in BC, or are there opportunities elsewhere in Canada or potentially in the States?
You know, it's hard to say because there are a few games that we will not be able to play that we haven't qualified yet for. So we obviously have to look into what are these games, what are the competition rules say about where can we play games. For example, in a Champions Cup scenario, we are not allowed to play the game outside of Canada. So we would have to play inside of Canada, what is actually a good thing. But then it also has some requirements regarding the venue. Same for Leagues Cup, same for Canadian Championship. So we will have to look in every of these scenarios when we qualify or after we qualify. And so we will always, of course, try to find the most convenient solutions for our fans and supporters. But the idea behind this letter is to tell everyone, look, there are challenges and we will update you, and not giving everyone the feeling everything is perfect for the season, as we feel we are really good set up for the season on the sporting side. And we want to start with a lot of excitement. We didn't want to come out with that, I mean, a week before the fact, maybe.
So you've talked about 2026. if we look beyond that from 2027, what is the possibility of the club being able to build another temporary stadium like you did in 2011, or even negotiate with Pavco to buy and own BC Place?
Yeah, great question. And obviously gives me the chance to share a little bit more that we haven't put into the letter. But I mean, I want to be very transparent here. So we have announced 14 months ago, something like that this club is for sale. And we have worked now 14 months on this. We had, I would say, in general, like roughly 100-ish outreaches. We had like more than 30, almost 40 groups who signed an NDA and went into our data room and did a full analysis on our situation. All those groups have worked with experts and have spent dollars into doing a 360 analysis to think about is it something that they want to invest in? And the reality is that they have asked us a lot of questions. They have also discussed with us alternative solutions and what the market looks like and what our setup looks like. And as of now, at this moment, no one, not one single one, is interested in buying even 1% of this club, because all of them think that our setup here and the market and the situation we are in is not something where you can invest in, and as long as not things change completely. So if you ask me after 2026, I mean 2026 is right as of now a financially worse year for us than 2025 has been. And the realities that we have discussed with everyone are pretty clear, but we got also the financial report of the league. And we have been the second best team in North America. And we have been, again, the last team in revenues in all MLS. And that doesn't fit together. And so what are the solutions after 2026? Honestly, a lot of things have to happen. And we had great conversations, and we had nice conversations, and we had great in the sense of very, very open, very, I would say, in a good atmosphere, in a great atmosphere, with understanding on the other side. But there's not enough progress as of now that I can say we have a solution, or we have an idea how the solution can look like. I mean, we have a lot of ideas, but so far, none of those ideas are possible, or we can be done only by us. And so, saying all of this, we wanted to be transparent with our season ticket holders and with you that we haven't given up on this market. Don't get me wrong, but we are literally, after 14 months in, not one step further than we have been 14 months ago. And I think we are maybe a few steps forward because we have already looked in a lot of scenarios, A, B, C, whatever, and none of them is doable. And it looks like they are not doable for many good reasons, but that's not the solution then for us. So what is the solution? I mean, if somebody has an idea, if somebody wants to step up, if somebody changes his mind, that's very welcome. But as of now, I will not stop working on some. But as of now, the progress is definitely too little to be optimistic. And somebody asked me, I think it was at the town hall, city hall. Are you concerned? And I said, look, it's also right to be concerned. And my concerns are there, and maybe my concerns today are a little bit bigger than they have been a couple months ago.
The MOU that you signed up at Hastings Racecourse, we know you've got to the end of the year. Is there a chance that could get signed way quicker to allow you to build a partly temporary stadium on part of the land that you might be using for the entertainment side of things?
Look, I wouldn't say all this stuff today if there would be that kind of plan there, and it would be easily to execute. I mean, we have signed the MOU, and we have started to engage with all stakeholders. We have started to engage with experts, with various experts from different markets, with experience, builders, developers, analysts. And we have also, again, engaged with a lot of those people who have been in our data room and have said, look, there is something new. We have signed this MOU. It's uploaded in the data room. It's also public available, by the way. And we would like to discuss it with you. But as of now, there's nothing that would really change our situation. Because at the end, it's not about having a new stadium. I would love to have a new stadium, don't get me wrong, and everyone would love that. But at the end, this also then has to address our challenges that we have right now on the financial side. I mean, it doesn't help us if we can build a new stadium and the more revenues just pay what the new stadium has cost, because at the end, then we are still where we are right now. And so even there, so far, I would say not enough progress to say that there is a temporary, short-term, mid-term solution that has convinced anyone, including us, but also of those who are generally interested in maybe making an offer for a sports team. And that's also concerning, obviously.
Axel Schuster there. And as I mentioned, a lot of you will have heard that, but I think it was important to get the stadium bit all together, which I'll say now, very disappointed with some of my fellow media people that there wasn't more questions, Zach, about the stadium, which I think was the pressing issue of today. Although Axel, I think, was quite relieved by that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're not wrong on that.
I'm a big fan of Laurel and Hardy. I want to use one of their famous lines. Another fine mess. But it's a worrying one. I've never seen Axel look so kind of dejected, defeated, concerned, written all over his face.
Yeah. When you, earlier in the day, when you forwarded me the season ticket letter thing, and you sent me a link, and then all you said below was, yikes. I was like, I got to read this right away. So I read it all, and I was like, oh, man. Yeah, it's very concerning. But I do think, and I tweeted this out, but I X'd this out, whatever, I don't know what you say. Anyways, I quote tweeted one of your things from the press conference and just said, yeah, like, this is all crappy, but I think they first, like Axel, the club, they need to be at least acknowledged or applauded for the fact that they're getting out ahead of this stuff way sooner.
Yeah. Very proactive.
Than other clubs. Yeah, exactly. Proactive.
Transparent as well, because folk are like, well, why now?
Yeah.
You want to get ahead. As Axel said, you don't suddenly want halfway through the season for season ticket holders to be like, why can't I go to this game in Vancouver?
Yeah.
Or what is happening next year?
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah. I mean, other clubs might have waited till the season started or the CCC gets off to a good start or whatever to then drop it. But no, I thought this was refreshing. Yeah. I thought it was, like you said, transparent is a good word for it. And it was like, here, let's just and even the tone of the letter, I mean, in contrast to some of the other stuff, maybe we'll talk about, the tone of the letter also wasn't like, like screw BC plays or like they're just terrible to work with and horrible. It was like, let's be honest. They have constraints. They've come back. They've offered us what is the best they can within those constraints. And
he was very complimentary of BC Place.
And it sounds like it's better, at least in some respects, to what has come these previous 15 years or whatever it's been. He would say, and for multiple reasons, and then MLS extremely echoed it, that it's not good enough. Right. And that's where the concern comes from. And I know
there's so much to get into, and there's also so much that we don't know.
Yes.
As well, which is part of it. And there's a lot of speculation. And like I joked at the start, I genuinely have spent 3 hours on social media, posting, replying to stuff. Another little bit doing some research and things as well. We'll try and get into a lot in this part. I don't know how long this part's going to go. This podcast might be over our 3 hours. This might be our longest podcast that we've ever put out. I'm want to try and keep it concise if we can. But there is important things, and there'll be things I miss. There might be some things I've got the wrong end of the stick off. I'm sure folk will keep me right. But when you hear Axel say things like, from our side, it feels like there's nothing left. The progress has come to an end, and it's right to be concerned. My concerns are there, and maybe my concerns are a little bit bigger than they have been a couple of months ago. I would have said going into this year, and I was asked this when I did the Designated Players podcast chat, are you worried about the team leaving? And I was like, no, very confident. Team's going to be in Vancouver. Don't have any worries at all. If you'd asked me on Thursday, I would have said the same thing. By Friday night, I think I was probably up at 95% that I was confident the team would stay. Genuinely 50-50 now. And I think some of that optimism is just me down to having I like to be a glass half full kind of person for stuff like this.
It's a real difficult one. And the reason why you're responding to so many people on this is, people are frustrated, people are disappointed, people are already
angry.
Angry. Some of them already, it's almost like they're already grieving the loss before it's happened.
And we should say it isn't all doom and gloom. And Axel has said this is nowhere near the end.
No.
But discussions have to be had. Pressure has to get ramped up. A lot of folk have said, what can we as fans do to help? So we'll address that.
Yeah.
Now, I woke up 9:30 Saturday morning in bed, checking my emails, all the dog things on Instagram that I check and send to my wife. So that when she checks her phone, she's got 20 things from me. And she's like, I just spoke to you 5 minutes ago. It's like, sorry. And then about 9:40, an email comes through from Dan Cortimonch at MLS. And I was like, oh. So he sent it to me. He sent it to her. I'm not sure who else got it, but it was a personal one. It wasn't like a blanket one to lots of media. It was, hi, Michael. Heard you on the call with Axel yesterday. Want to just give you this statement from MLS. And I was like, they don't usually do that.
No.
So, I mean, their statement was, if anyone hasn't seen it, Vancouver Whitecaps continue to face unresolved business and stadium challenges that are limiting the club's long-term future in the city. Operational constraints around scheduling and venue access have intensified in 2026, creating untenable conditions for a major league club, with no clear path forward to resolving these challenges in future years. This is not fair to the club or its fans. MLS continues to actively support the club and work alongside ownership to pursue a solution in Vancouver. However, meaningful progress is urgently required to establish a sustainable path forward. As you said, Axel said there's been good conversations with Pavco and BC Place. Their hands are tied with being a Crown corporation. Axel says the challenges we've had and have raised cannot be addressed in a way that is really benefiting or bettering our situation in a good way. One of the big issues with all of this, we've talked about it on the show. I asked Axel this a couple of times last year. It's always felt to me that Pavco holds so many of the cards in this situation because the options aren't there to suddenly say, okay, well, we'll just go away from BC Place. Because where are you going to play? And a big part of that is a damning indictment into the lack of stadium facilities in the Lower Mainland and throughout BC.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a whole other...
Yes, which we won't get bogged down in, but it is a thing. And we'll get into some of the options that are there in a sec. But the stadium infrastructure throughout Canada even isn't great.
Oh, yeah. It hasn't grown in the way it needed to.
No.
Which all these, League One, CPL, NSL sides have all struggled with. 6-5 stadiums, they have put in a number of stadiums across the country, but again, they're more like intermediate stadiums, right? They're not.
Yes.
They're pop-up.
They're expandable.
Yeah,
because they're modular, but And we've got to be honest here as well. Part of the reason that there isn't these big stadiums is there's not a need for them in general.
Yeah.
So why build something that's not going to be filled? That's
Yep.
why, like I mentioned East Fife a lot, we have one stand that holds 2,000 people. And other clubs mock us, oh, it's just one stand. We don't get more than 800-900 people for most games. Why do we need stands all around when we can have pitches that youth can use throughout the week that gets us money?
Well, remember,
So
they're
you've
going to
got
have,
to build for what you need.
yeah.
And
One day, East Fife will have the Michael McCall Memorial stand on the other side.
I was talking to Caitlin about that. I
I
was
believe it.
saying, I'd like a picture, a stand named after me somewhere when I go. And she's like, would you prefer AFTN or Michael McCall? It's like, probably my name so it lives on.
That'd be so awesome.
We know that there's certain games that can't be played at BC Place this year. So one of the big things we need to talk about right off the bat is, yes, part of the reason games can't be played at BC Place this year is World Cup related. These problems are not because the World Cup is coming here.
Yeah, which I think
I've
there's some
had people
confusion over
message
that.
me saying, oh, this is the World Cup has fucked up local soccer. But it has not. Yes, this year it's messed things up. But that is also not the sole reason that the Whitecaps can't play games at BC Place this year. There's other events booked in to BC Place this year because it's a multi-use stadium. Yes, it means the Whitecaps are away from home for big chunks of the year. That is why they're also starting off with 9 out of 10 games at home to start the year. We all knew this was happening. The Whitecaps knew, it's MLS knew, it's been worked around. This is all about issues beyond 2026, and it's about financial revenue issues. So the World Cup does have an impact, but that is not why we are where we are. There's Lions games, there's other events, there's concerts. What we've learned from the letter and Axel, and we talked about this already because I'd already reached out and asked about it. The Canadian Championship quarterfinal second leg can't be played at BC Place because FIFA still have the stadium at that point. So it will be played ideally in the lower mainland because it could be against Pacific or Cavalry. So you don't want to be going over to Pacific for an away game against Pacific. So you've got to feel it's going to be Swangard, maybe Willoughby, and we'll see how that goes. That's fine. It's a reduced capacity. The game would probably have had a reduced capacity anyway, crowd-wise, if we're being brutally honest. The Leagues Cup needs to get played in an MLS market / MLS approved stadium. So it's not going to get played in Vancouver or the lower mainland. Now, again, that wouldn't have got a huge crowd. A lot of people couldn't give a toss about the competition. That game not being played here, if we have to play it in Seattle or Portland, I don't think it's annoying because it should be a home game. But again, ultimately, who cares? Because they're in the competition so the players can get their bonuses.
Yeah. As much as it might be frustrating for some season ticket holders or season ticket members, I actually don't mind the Voyageurs Cup match being played at somewhere like Swangard or Willoughby.
Yeah.
I think it actually
More
could
intimate atmosphere.
Yeah, it could make that occasion, like they could sell out Swangard, they could sell out Willoughby and make it
I mean, you'd imagine they would.
a different kind of occasion, right? And so, yeah, I don't mind that actually.
Because Sounders have played so many of the US Open Cup games down at Starfire over the years for that reason, because they get a full house and it's a buzzing atmosphere. I've been to a US Open Cup game of the Sounders against Kitsap down there, and it was electric. It was amazing. Now, the big issue is the CONCACAF Champions Cup, but we're looking ahead at games that might never happen as well. That is the problem. And that is the problem with BC Place hosting soccer. Soccer doesn't just have a set schedule of regular season and playoffs. There's cups that could mean games, might not mean games along the way. The CONCACAF Champions Cup games, under CONCACAF rules, have to be played in Canada at an approved stadium. So we know Willoughby is now an approved stadium because it's hosting the game on Tuesday night that we'll talk about in part 4. It could be against Miami. So the Whitecaps are losing out on the potential of another 55,000 at BC Place. Now, money-wise, that's massive. So you could see it maybe getting moved to Edmonton if it was Miami. But it might not be Miami. They might not get to the semi-final. And when I initially inquired in December about this possibility, because as you know, I always think way ahead. As soon as I see things, as Nathan at the Whitecaps will tell you, I'm like, this might happen in May. What's the possibility of this? And it's like, it's December. But I put feelers out, and I was told there was a possibility if the Whitecaps are hosting the first leg, that FIFA might let them have BC Place as a kind of test event. So the Whitecaps will always try and find the most convenient market for the supporters, Axel said. And I truly believe that. So, going forward, if the position at BC Place is not tenable for 2027 and beyond, what does that mean for the Whitecaps? If they can't come to a deal with Pavco, what does this mean? So, I mean, there's really 5 possible outcomes, arguably 6, as things currently stand, unless you can throw any more at me. So 1, status quo. The Whitecaps get approved for their new stadium up at Hastings Racecourse, and they just suck it up and they take the best deal that Pavco can give them, grudgingly, knowing that they're losing money and just thinking it's short-term pain for long-term gain. But the problem is that could be 3 years, maybe 4 years. And you're also allowing on every aspect of the stadium getting approved, which in itself is not 100% guaranteed. Now, I would not be surprised if the BC government, David Eby, everyone that's having these discussions between the government and Pavco are looking at it as I said, we hold all the cards. What are they going to do? Let's just play chicken with MLS. Let's see how much posturing they want to do because we think they're going to back down. They're never going to leave the city and we will be able to get the best deal that we can for us without having to give any further concessions. I truly would not be surprised if that is how they approach it. But it's a very dangerous game to play because I think MLS have shown in the past, as we'll talk about, they don't fuck around if they feel they're getting a bad deal. So much of it is about the money side to them. Option 2, pressure is put on the BC government to step in and work out a better deal with the Whitecaps and Pavco. Hands are tied just now, but the government can make changes to the regulations for what Pavco can offer. And we'll talk a bit more about Pavco in a sec. Interestingly as well, the timing of all this coming out, the next BC budget is getting announced on February 17th. So put some pressure on there. It's just like maybe try and find money in that. Option 3, Connor Turner made a very interesting comparison on Blue Sky. He said, I wonder if the problems with BC Place might create a situation similar to the Austin Columbus one or Cleveland Baltimore in NFL, where the team is sold to another city, but the Whitecaps starts up again once the new stadium is completed. I don't think anyone wants to lose BC Vancouver's in MLS market, and it's clear that the city can sustain a team and thrive. It's also important for Seattle and Portland rivalries and TFC, Montreal. And if BC Place issue can't be resolved, that could be a solution. And it could be, because if you look at San Jose Earthquakes back in the day, when MLS started, had to go, move to Houston, started up again once they got their stadium sorted out and ownership sorted out.
But that's
It's not an ideal situation, but it could be a possible one.
But I find that hard to believe that would happen.
Yeah, I would kill all the momentum and all the good work that the Whitecaps have done on and off the pitch. They've turned this club around.
Yes.
On the pitch in terms of results, in the stands in terms of the fan base, in the city and what the city think about them. And it would all just get undone at the wave of a wand. But if you were to say to me, it's that option or you lose the team forever, you would take that option. You'd have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. I know totally it's a bit of a different circumstance, but you think about, yeah, maybe this is two apples to oranges, but what happened with Chivas USA, right? It came back, but it wasn't Chivas USA anymore, right? It was
No.
very, very different.
Yeah.
I guess they could make a way for that to not, I mean, to hold that identity.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, yeah, it
I mean, I'm
doesn't.
not saying it's a viable option, but it's an option.
Yeah.
And they'd be away for 3 years. Would the demand still be there? You've lost your whole team for one thing. You've lost your whole homegrowns.
Yep.
You'd still have your academy and the name and probably play in League One. Maybe they temporarily put a team for their young guys in CPL, something like that, just to keep the name going. But that's one of the options. We're just looking at the 5 possible things.
Yeah.
Option 4, worst case scenario, it is the end of the road and the club move out the city altogether. Now, Axel said that they've had about 100 people reaching out about buying into the club. And off that, 30 to 40 have signed an NDA that they wanted to look at more details, get a full analysis of the situation. And he said, out of all of those groups, none of them wanted to even buy 1% of the club at this point, because they felt the setup here, the market, the situation they're in isn't something that they can invest in unless things change completely. And he talked about looking at other options, and there's just not other options there. But the 5th option, which is something I kind of put towards him on Friday, but we need to explore more, is a temporary solution in the lower mainland, maybe even elsewhere in BC. So what those options could be is you could expand Swangard. There had been a couple of talks in recent years to expand Swangard to 10, 12,000, have underground parking, build it out, proper stands. They all got rejected by council, they didn't go very far. There was a lot of complaints and nerves from the local residents as to what it would mean to the community, traffic, community use, everything like that. But Swangard, you could put bleachers in. I mean, you were at the 2007 World Cup there. You saw what that could do to expand it to 10,000. Again, not ideal, but they did let Dallas play with a 10,000 capacity stadium this year while they were doing renovations. So that could be a potential, but you're not controlling the date still. City of Burnaby are. It's very heavily used and there's a lot of community use. So some of those things would have to go away, and it's weighing that up. Also, Vancouver Rise right now are heavily pushing the City of Burnaby to become anchor tenants at Swangard.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, people have also mentioned Willoughby out in Langley, and yes, whilst that stadium is modular in theory, can be expanded, probably not to the levels that the Whitecaps need size-wise. Could be a short-term solution with a smaller crowd, yes. But it also has to be noted that Vancouver FC don't control the dates there. It's Langley themselves, the city of Langley, the township of Langley, and they control the dates. It's a heavily community-used stadium, so it just does not feel feasible there, not even looking at the lack of transit options as well. I floated the idea of another Tempire, but Axel basically said if these kind of options were available, they maybe wouldn't have needed to put out what they did on Friday. But I think it could be done, because a temporary Empire Stadium style thing at Hastings Racecourse could work, but they would need to move very quickly. Because if you look at the project, what they're hoping to do is the stadium and the entertainment district. So in my mind, you build a temporary stadium on where you want the entertainment district while you're building the permanent stadium, and then the permanent stadium's done, and then you build the entertainment district. I think of like White Hart Lane, Tottenham. They had kept the existing stadium while they built the new stadium beside it, and then when it was done, they knocked down the old stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, going back to the temporary Empire thing, I had a look at what happened with the one that we got. for the first season at MLS. It only cost $14.4 million to get built, and it opened in June 2010. Now, obviously, costs have skyrocketed since then.
Mm-hmm.
It was 20,500 seats with 7,000 benches. As we know, in the south end and the north end, there was luxury suites, a press room, floodlights, artificial turf. It was built in only 111 days.
Yeah.
So you can put these things up quickly. And it was built by the Nussli Group from Switzerland, 3 months basically. Now that's incredible.
Yeah.
BC Lions played a game at Royal Athletic Park in Victoria in August 2024 against Ottawa. And it was, I think, 10,000 they expanded that to. Centennial Stadium.
Which 10,000 exactly what RAP was for the Under-20 World Cup in 2007.
Right. Well, Centennial Stadium hosted the Commonwealth Games, and it could expand to 60,000 with the bleachers. So, I mean, they might not want to locate to Victoria for 3 years. It's an option, not a great one. Neither is going to Kelowna, but Kelowna is about to host 2 CFL games for the Lions, June 27th, July 4th, at the Apple Bowl, and it's going to temporarily expand for about 17,000.
Yeah, see the problem with all these things is that unless there's a determined back end solution, right? Like the stadium at Hastings.
Oh yeah, that has to have been approved by that point.
Is the fact that they would decrease their revenue likely in doing all of these things. And this is part of the problem, right? You mentioned it with the analysis of, prospective investors or potential owners looking at the club and them being like, yeah, it's not worth it. If you're going to go through 2 or 3 years of even less revenue, then you can imagine how that would hurt
You'd
things
have
out.
to work with a municipality that would be keen to bring it in for what it might mean to local businesses. I mean, when Doug McCallum, the guy that had been the mayor of Surrey, he floated the idea of the 80,000 stadium out in Surrey, and folk were like, oh, you're an idiot, pie in the sky stuff. Imagine if that had gone ahead. It's ready-made there for them.
And I believe you put this, Axel, if I'm not wrong, in the session on Friday, and he, appropriately, I think, didn't engage with this part of your question.
Option 6.
The buying BC plays, right?
Yeah. I don't know what it's valued at. I've seen folk mention could be 700-800 million.
Yeah, it's because of the land alone.
Yeah. How much is a new stadium going to cost? Whereas you've got a ready-made one.
Yeah.
That you can make money on everything. It's downtown. Everyone's happy. BC Lions haven't been mentioned a lot in this. And I had a media member from Montreal get in touch with me, and we were having a chat about that. He's like, I don't understand why no one mentions the Lions. And I went, well, first of all, their fan base maybe isn't as vocal on social media, or at least who I follow on social media, and probably he does as well, so doesn't see it. But they have been quiet in this, but I have been told they're not happy with their lot at BC Place either. But they don't want to rock the boat too much because they're trying the short-term pain thing, because they're doing so much and they've done so well to try and build their fan base, but it just hasn't hit what they're wanting to hit. And nobody knows if this new stadium, and I ideally wouldn't want it shared with the Lions for reasons we've discussed with the pitch, but I mean, they would probably want to be involved if they could and partner. And the Lions aren't happy with what they're getting from BC Place either, but their options are also limited. And you have to think, like, if things went well for them in Kelowna, would they look at relocating or playing more games in somewhere like Kelowna and cut their losses and be like, well, the city of Kelowna is going to put all these stands up for us and we bring everything there, then it might be worthwhile. So it's hard to tell about that. I also genuinely know next to nothing about the Lions' financial situation, so not really fair to kind of talk about that. From a Whitecaps point of view, in terms of the deal that they have at Pavco, some stuff is out there from the original license agreement that was signed way back in 2011. We know from then that for the first 5 years for the Whitecaps at BC Place, the rent for each game was to be 3% of the net ticket sales, capped at 400,000 a year. Then after 2016, that was kind of tied to the Consumer Price Index. It's been pointed out in various places. There was a post up on the Whitecaps Facebook page that, yes, the Whitecaps don't pay for security, ushers, the general running of BC Place on match day. Pavco covers all that, so they don't have those costs. And when it comes to concessions, the Whitecaps, the feeling was that it was 20% that they were getting at the moment in terms of getting money from concessions revenue. The original agreement was only 12.5, so I'm thinking it has been adjusted in that time. But also, they only were to get that way back in the day if they were bringing in over $3.5 million in an operating year. Pavco as well take money from tickets that the Whitecaps sell, which the last I heard it was over $3 a ticket that they take. So the Whitecaps could make more money at BC Place if they bring more money in, because they'd get a bigger percentage value on concessions. They would also get more money from ticket sales, but then would they be getting those crowds in? Charge more in reality, especially when the team hasn't been doing well in recent years, you're actually going to get less fans in because folks just going to feel it's not worth the money. One thing we'll discuss in another podcast, people are saying, well, are the Whitecaps blameless in this? And I mean, you can't say that they're not. We don't know how long they've been pushing for the new deal. The initial agreement that was signed doesn't look great really for either side. I know folk refer to it as a sweetheart deal for the Whitecaps, but basically they're hamstrung in what money they can make. And in that time, operating costs for the team have gone up, costs of travel, they have to charter everywhere now. Player salaries have gone up. You're bringing better quality talent in. So expenses are going up, but they're really hamstrung in what revenue they can actually make on a game day. And this is now what has come to a head. Also, just want to splice a little bit in here from after we recorded on Monday morning. Bob Mackin dropped an article on his Substack account, that's bobmackin.substack.com, that has more details from the original license agreement broken down in an article. So if you are interested in what the deal was 15 years ago, check that out. You've got to think, like, all this uncertainty, I mean, it's going to hamper contract extension talks, you feel, with the likes of Blackman or Berhalter. I don't think Seba's going to do a new deal anyway. But, I mean, it's hard for players to commit to a future when they don't know what city it's going to be in. So they might love being in Vancouver, but why are you going to commit when you might not be in Vancouver and you might find yourself playing in a city that you don't want to actually be in?
Yeah, that's a new hindrance to the squad building.
We'll talk a little bit more because I know it's a lot, and there's a lot more discussions to be had. So who are Pavco? I wanted to educate myself because I know a little bit, but I haven't really delved into it. So Pavco are the BC Pavilion Corporation. They're the owners and operators of BC Place Stadium and the Vancouver Convention Centre. Now, Pavco is one of many Crown corporations in the province, and they have a mandate to generate significant economic and community benefit for the people of BC. Over the next 5 years, Pavco is forecast to generate more than $2 billion worth of economic impact within British Columbia. And I wonder how much of that is World Cup.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Because are they generating that, or is FIFA generating that?
Yeah.
So there's that. Now, they say on their website, BC Place hosts more than 70 major events and 245 plus occupancy days annually on a year-round schedule. So that figure's been used by folk that are saying BC Place doesn't need the Whitecaps. If the Whitecaps fuck off, they've got 240 plus days occupancy already. Now, the Whitecaps have their game days, and they have to have the game day before as well, ideally, if they can. Now, occasionally they won't, because MLS mandates that clubs, if they want to train at BC Place, have to be allowed to train at BC Place. Now, there's the odd thing that will clash that would prevent that. So you might look that of those 245 plus days, with all the games the Whitecaps play, cup games, other things, they might be controlling 70 to 80 of those. So that's like a third that BC Place would then have to fill. And I'm sure they would fill them. There'd be more monster truck things, there'd be more conventions, a lot of corporate use. But would they generate the crowds and the money for PAVCO that the Whitecaps do? And I think that's one of the arguments that the Whitecaps have tried to put to them.
Yeah.
Now, all of this sounds great. But when you dig into PAVCO's Financial Information Act filing for the fiscal year that ended in March 2025, which someone sent me last night, I had to double check this because I was like, I'm from a banking background, and I was like, am I reading this right? BC Place PAVCO's net profit was just over $45,000 when you take off their expenses, their staff, of which there's over 50, and a lot of them are on six-figure salaries as well. $45,000 profit in a year where they had Taylor Swift concerts. That seems insane to me.
Yeah, like really low.
Yeah. If you factor in their assets, the stadium, land, etc., yes, it takes it to about 900,000. But actual income, 45,000.
Are you saying it's inefficient or?
Well, I mean, to me, it made me ask the question: why does BC's government want to have a stadium? I genuinely don't understand. I know it was built with the hope to bring a baseball team here. I was speaking to someone about why. Can you explain to me why the government wants this? And I was told they feel they can use it for economic impact, and it's a good PR side of things. We're bringing all these concerts. We're making you happy because we own this stadium and all this stuff. So what is a crown corporation? Well, according to the Government of BC website, crown corporations are public sector organisations established and funded by the BC government to provide specialised goods and services to citizens. They operate at varying levels of government control and report on their planning, governance and accountabilities. So the governments in a lot of these aren't meant to have too much of an input. If I'm wrong with the 45, if someone can correct me on that, I would appreciate that. But that's how I read it, that was the net profit, which doesn't seem that it is getting run in a way that's making a lot. Now, supporters of that would turn around and say, well, if you're going to give more to the Whitecaps, they're going to make even less. So maybe buying BC Place could be an option for the Whitecaps. Cheaper than a stadium. Partnership with the government part owners. The Whitecaps want control of that stadium, and they're not going to get it in the current form. And Don Garber basically said, look, let the Whitecaps run the stadium. It's a weight of PAVCO's mind, it's a weight of the government's mind. I want to put an open invitation out as well to David Eby and any of the politicians. Come on the show, talk to me why PAVCO has this stadium, why you think the current deal is the one that you want to offer the Whitecaps.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
David Eby in particular, I think, would be the guy to speak to. So let's just end this just now, because we've talked a lot in this part on this. Folk have said to me, what can we do to help this situation? First of all, keep it in the news cycle. I feel fans have to turn out the pressure on PAVCO and the BC government. I've seen folks say, let's just boycott the concessions at BC Place. That doesn't help the Whitecaps. They're getting a share of the concessions. So you're actually hitting the Whitecaps' pocket if you boycott it. I'm not for that. But seriously, you would be hitting them if you did that. So that's
Yeah.
not the way to go. You're hitting Pavco a little bit, but you're also hitting the Whitecaps. For me, you need to write to your MLA. And I've been told it's important that you write to your MLA in your riding, because then they're more inclined to reply, take it on, have discussions with you. If you write to a random one that's a government minister, but you're not in their riding, they're not really going to bother as much. Now, the Minister of Sport and Tourism is worth getting in touch with. That'd be the BC government. David Eby as well is worth getting in touch to. Please, if you are, keep it civil. No threats, no swearing, no over-the-top language, because that helps no one.
Yeah.
You need to do this with a clear, concise head, but you need to turn the pressure upon them. I've had more political discussions this weekend in my time in Canada since I've been here, because I've spoken on the show before. Until I was a citizen last year, I didn't have much interest in BC politics because I couldn't vote. So I've started to take a wider interest. I genuinely have no affiliation to any party. My vote is there to be won. Now, there's mayoral elections coming up as well in September. They haven't got as big a sway on this situation for the Whitecaps at BC Place, but they do have an important say in the new stadium situation.
Yes.
My quick understanding, and a chat with someone tonight, there's 6 parties, and I would urge everyone to get in touch with all the parties and ask them what their mayoral candidate stance on the new stadium is at Hastings. And I would say it's never too early to get in touch. Of the 6 parties, the one that's probably most for the stadium is ABC Vancouver, Ken Sims' party. I think Vancouver Liberals and Team are probably pro, but they might have an element of caution to them. Tough to say either way. Pete Fry from the Greens. One City are probably going to be negative against the stadium, and I think the most hostile is probably going to be Cope. Get in touch with these parties, again in a civil way. Ask them, have they decided who their mayoral candidate's going to be? What is your stance on the stadium? Have you got one yet? And if they haven't, because I know someone's already reached out to Team, and Team got back to them and said, we haven't decided our decision yet, but we'll have a meeting this week about it. Vancouver Liberals also replied to somebody. Kareem Alam mentioned that he is all for a new deal getting negotiated at BC Place. Ultimately, would prefer the Whitecaps to be playing downtown because of all the benefits it would bring to the downtown business core. But if that wasn't possible, he does support the P&E plan as well. So that's the first couple of comments on this. Keep the pressure on them, but write to your MLA. Again, somebody else who has connections has spoken to somebody in the BC legislature. I'll keep it vague. And a question, if possible, might be getting raised on this week at PMQs.
Cool.
Or FMQs, or whatever it's called here.
Question period?
Yeah, the question period anyway. So we'll see how that goes. But that's what you can do just now. Keep it in the news cycle and challenge the news politicians to ask the politicians questions. Because us soccer media don't have access to these guys. The news journalists do. You need to force them to get the questions asked and to keep this in the news cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot for everyone to take in. We've covered a lot in this. I don't know how long that section was. I don't know how long this podcast is going to be. But we've done it. I feel out of breath. We need a cleanser. And I think the best cleanser is some music by Sid Barrett and a chat with Whitecaps head coach Jesper Sorensen. And we'll be back with both of those after this.
Hi, I'm Jesper Sorensen, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
I really love you, and I mean you. The star above you, crystal blue. Well, oh baby, my hair's on end about you. Okay. I wouldn't see you, and Hello, baby, my hair's on end about you. Floating, bumping noses, dodge a tooth, their fins are luminous. Fangs all round the crown is dark below the boulders, hiding all the sunlight's good for us. 'Cause we're the fishes and all we do, a move about is all we do. Well, oh baby, my hair's on end about you.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's the second of our songs from our new album of the month, Syd Barrett. That's the first track from his debut album, 1970's The Madcap Laughs. That was Terrapin, a song which also spawned the name for the official magazine from the Syd Barrett Appreciation Society in tribute of that song. And Syd wanted that song to kind of have an underwater vibe to it, and it was produced by his former Pink Floyd bandmate David Gilmour. And we'll have a couple more songs from Syd Barrett in the next episode of the show. But we're going to get back to the football chat now. And we're going to continue the Whitecaps chat as we bring you the first of two feature interviews this episode. And it's our first chat of the year with the gaffer, Jesper Sorensen, over in Spain, in Marbella for pre-season with the team. He hadn't flown over for the medical testing. He'd stayed in Denmark, then flew down to meet the team in Spain. And I think when he came to the club just over a year ago, even in his wildest dreams, it couldn't have gone as well as the season went. Yeah, there was some heartbreak along the way. There was some mistakes, I'm sure he would readily admit, along the way as well. But overall, it was a great, fantastic first season in charge of the club. Now he has to follow that up, and that's where the real pressure comes in. Everyone knows the phrase, the sophomore slump. Can he do it in year two? He had a great first year at Brøndby. Second year, he did fairly well. I still feel he was unfairly sacked by Brøndby for how well he had actually done with the team. But that's always the pressure on second-year coaches. And we've seen it in MLS. We've seen it in recent years in the league where one team can have an absolutely fantastic season, and then the next year, it all goes tits up. You think of St. Louis City. Just have to think of the 2024 MLS champs, LA Galaxy, and how their 2025 season turned out. But you hope and you feel that for Jesper, for the Whitecaps, that isn't going to be the case here in Vancouver. And when Jesper came to the club, we touched on it at the start of the last part, there was all this uncertainty off the field, and he helped bring a feel-good factor to the team, buzzing in the stands, in the city, and the club saw the city embrace it, and the city fell in love with the Whitecaps. And with everything that's going on off the pitch, Jesper just has to focus with his job of getting the on-field product right again and competing on four fronts, trying to get to some more cup finals. So go stick the kettle on, grab your biscuit of choice, and sit back and enjoy our first chat of many in 2026 with the gaffer. So, Jesper, first of all, Happy New Year to you. I think we can still say that, even though it's February. It's nice to speak to you for the first time in 2026.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike, and Happy New Year to you as well.
So how was your Christmas? You got a chance to get back home, spend time with your family. I mean, I can only imagine how difficult it's been being away from your family for this long. And I know you got to go home a little bit, but was it just nice to get back, see them all, spend some quality time with them?
Yeah, it really was. You know, we had a great run, and obviously it was yeah, a fantastic season. But it was also a long season, and I work a little bit away from home, so it was nice getting back and just ground together with my family and with my wife and our kids and you know everybody that we got to see over the Christmas, and it was you know Christmas is about being together and give to each other. So I think that was great.
Yeah, I always remember when I did a chat with Mark DeSantis when he was here as head coach, and one of the questions that I'd asked him was, what's your advice to a young coach starting off? And he was like, don't be married because the strain it puts being away from your family, he said, until you're in it, you don't really appreciate it. And that's something that's always stuck with my head. So when it's a guy like yourself that's on the other side of the world to your family, I don't think folk do appreciate like how tough that is. But having like the Danish connection here, like even having Anya, and now you've got Kenneth kind of coming back
Yeah, yeah,
as well. That must all help.
yeah. You know, I think that we have to we have to get together, right? We have to stand up together because the Canadians and the Danish are you know getting attacked by the American Empire. So we have to with Greenland and Canada the 51st day, right? So we have to stay together. No, I think it's also very special and also maybe a little bit random, right? That everything happens just at the same time, and
Yeah.
it makes it special to be, you know, in a club in Vancouver, so far from Denmark, and then we have a head coach for the Rise, and we have me and we have Jan obviously as an assistant coach also for us, and now Kenneth in a big role in Canadian Federation. I think it speaks into the, you know, we are quite similar, I think, also to Canadians, the way we think, the way our upbringing is, and I think that may make it easier for us to adapt and integrate into Canadian, you know, workplaces and into the Canadian culture, I think.
It's funny you mentioned Greenland because, like, when Vanny was here, Vanny would love to talk about politics, and we don't talk about politics a lot. But I did want to ask you about this very briefly. Like, you don't have to get yourself in any trouble for crossing the border. But obviously, Denmark was like the focus of world attention for a couple of weeks there. Being back in the country when all this is going on, did it just seem like surreal? Are you and your family and your friends just like, what is happening here?
I think it has caught a lot of Danish people by surprise that there's been that much interest about Greenland. It's not been a big political thing earlier on. Yeah, so I just think that it's been, you know, a big surprise for everybody. We can talk about a lot of stuff, but I always think that the way you do things, you can do things in many ways, and I think, you know, the way that there has been talk about just overtaking, not as much as, you know, a Greenland, but also the people of Greenland. I think is yeah, maybe has not been the way that we expected this to go down. Because of course we know that if there is something, then we normally work close together with the Americans. Then if there is something, then we work together and we'll give the access that they want, if they want any, to protect certain areas. But yeah, I think it's the way it's been done. It's just came as a surprise and a shock for a lot of Danish people, I think, and a lot of others I can imagine around the world.
Yeah.
Right?
I've always been fascinated with the Greenland football side of things because they play their whole season in like a month. I've watched the games on YouTube the last few years, and
Okay.
I'd love to get there at some point and see that. It just looks amazing.
Yeah.
But let's talk football. Let's.
Yeah, okay, we can go that route.
I know folk will be listening to this going, 5 minutes, and already they've not really talked about much. And I won't dwell too much on 2025, but you've now had a little bit of time away from it, time to reflect. And it's always tough. Like when we speak to you right after the MLS Cup final, it's like, what are you meant to say? You're still processing everything. So now you've had a chance to do that. How do you reflect on 2025 from a club point of view, but also from a personal point of view?
Yeah, I think the most reflection I've been doing has been from a personal point of view, because I think that has been something that I haven't really done throughout the year. When you're in mid-season, you're focusing on the next task ahead, and you're focusing on the season, and you're focusing on getting an overview of how to get the best results coming up, and look for this ahead in the schedule and all that stuff. So I think that's when you don't really reflect on a personal, in a personal manner, but you don't really get that perspective on. But then when you get a break and also speaking with my family and talking to them about what some of the experiences we got when they came visit me in Vancouver, and they all went to Miami to watch the final. And my wife was also in Mexico City when we played there, and then all of a sudden you start bringing up all these memories from a season that should have been 2 or 3 because all the things we experienced. And then I really got to appreciate what we did together as a team, how we changed the way that the team used to play to a bit of a different style, and how the players every day put everything out on the practice pitch, and were very focused on all the time becoming better and pushing each other. And I think sometimes, because I've also been in situations where the players really done very well, and there's been a great atmosphere in the team, but you didn't do that well. But the players still kept a very good mentality and stuff, but you didn't push over the line with the results, and then when things happened like the season we had, where it was not only that we did well as a team, we also got a lot of players that all of a sudden became national team players, and everybody knows how much it means to a player to represent your national team. And then for this to happen, it was just you go away from a game in Miami where you are very disappointed, and then you get to think a little bit, and then you actually become very happy for everything you've seen. And for me as a coach, I think some of the best things that can happen to me is that when you can see a player really gets better and really gets get more out of the potential that the player has. And I think that happened to a lot of players, and I think that was really, really great. And and then the excitement around the team. The last game we played at BC Place, we couldn't have even come up with a script. That was near how it played out. So I think, all these memorable moments, both good and also, some disappointments here and there, it just summed up to a fantastic personal experience, and also really appreciating everything that I got to experience together with a lot of great people that really did a lot of good things to make this happen. Also, just around the team, it's not just the coaches, not just the players. We always get connected to what happens on the pitch. There's a lot of great people who works behind the lines that don't really get the recognition, and maybe you're not connected to what is happening down on the pitch that really matters actually. So I think, for me, that was just a great joy that everybody, got the recognition, and we were so fortunate, and also I'm very happy for the recognition we got after the season as well. Not just Axel, but also our communications department, everybody who really got great honors, and I think that was, it's good because you put your work in, you put your life in, and you don't always get the recognition. I think it was great that it happened to everyone.
In the moment, do you really get a chance to enjoy stuff? Like, obviously, you'll celebrate at the end, like against San Diego or against Miami to get to the cup final. But do you actually really get to enjoy it? I was at an event with Jesse Marsh on Saturday, and he spoke about the thing with coaches is you seldom get the chance to really enjoy the moment because as soon as the game finishes, you switched on to what's next.
Um, yeah, there is definitely some truth into that statement. Normally, it's a brutal thing to be a coach because normally, the disappointments they really fill you up for a much longer time than the
Yeah.
than the celebration and the joy.
And that's
But
what
I
folk
think,
remember as well as the bad times.
yeah, yeah, sometimes, yeah. But I think we had some good moments that we could really enjoy throughout the year. I think when we won down in Pumas in the quarterfinal, when we won in Miami as well, when we won at home against LAFC. Of course, there was a game right next week after when we won in San Diego, but still there was a game after that one. Yeah, so it's always a little bit tricky, and then you have the MLS Cup final where you can remember that one for 3 months before you have the next game, right? So it's
Yeah.
the disappointment there from that game, but overall, you have to see if you can find joy sometimes when it's there, and also dwell a little bit because I think that's important to you. Otherwise, it'll just be one big suffering from the game that you don't win, and yeah, it's tough, and we all know how difficult it is when you're in a like we saw some teams also in a situation where everything just goes against you, and it's difficult to get out of, and it's tough to be in a state like that. So I think you have to sometimes also enjoy that things are going really well for you, and we had also those moments last year.
You did so well. The team did so well in your first season. Do you feel the pressure? Everyone always talks over on this side about, oh, the sophomore slump and everything like that. Do you feel that the pressure's on you that you have to be so good again? You had a great first season with Brøndby. I feel you were unfairly dismissed because I thought you were having a good second season, but obviously it's worked out great for us because we had you here. But do you feel that pressure now that you've got to show it's not just a flash in the pan?
Yeah, sometimes you get a victim of your own success, right? And then, the expectations naturally will be different to us this coming into this year's season than last year, where there was a lot of uncertainty about what is this team going to be like with a new coach, and the club is for sale, and what is going to happen. Obviously, there will be high expectations for us now. We have Thomas Müller who came in that also raises expectations, and we are no longer just a regular team from the Western Conference. We are actually a team that people are counting on and should be at the top. So I don't think that it's a pressure for now. I think it's definitely gonna be that expectations will be higher, coming our way. But I think it's a good thing. We have a good team, and we have opportunity to live up to the expectations. Of course, you can end up in a scenario where the aim you aim for is so small that you can almost only fail, but I don't think we're there yet. I think everybody recognizes that last year was special, maybe also a huge leap, a great leap we did, but also that less will be okay. We will go for winning whatever we can, but it's not easy, and everybody knows that. So I think we'll be fine. I think we'll be good. I think we have a good squad, and then yeah, we will also see if we can, push an extra bit this season.
I think if everyone looks at, oh, how can the team be better? It's obvious. It's like turn one or both of those cup final losses into victories. But when you look at last year going into this year, I think a lot of people would say there was very few missteps made along the way. What do you look back on and think, I should have done that different? I need to do that different in 2026. That needs to be better, team wise, and for you personally in 2026.
Yeah, you always have some things that you believe you can improve in, and we also could do some things better last year. We had a very good mix of players that really blended well together, and we also said goodbye to a couple of good players that did very well last year. So first of all, it's about see how we can get them replaced, but also what else we can add to the way we play and how we can become even stronger the way we play. It's not going to be that easy, but obviously we have high expectations to how we can add, maybe something in the way that we want to break through the opponents when they're standing lower. We saw we had in a couple of games some difficulties when we are facing opponents that were standing low, and also how can we avoid opportunities maybe from crosses and stuff. How can we be better defending that part? And there's always small nuances that you would like to be better at all the time, and I think that's what's on my mind and what was on my mind. And then just making sure that we change the mindset of the players who's here. We will be, I told the team last year that we will have to change from being a team to the team. And I think that's very important. That puts pressure on you, but it also gives certain respect, and that's what we aim for, becoming a team that the opposition knows is a very good team, but also know that they have to be really ready to withstand whatever we can bring on any given day. So I think that's what we need to do. We need to make sure that we become a team that's mentally strong and really a team that is going to be very difficult to beat and be a team that solidifies that we've taken a great jump and can continue out that direction.
2 preseason games in the books. The first one, I mean, you said yourself, it's hard to take much from that in those conditions, but it looked a good outing in the second game. The new additions look to be integrating well. You've lost some pieces, as you've talked about. There's exciting pieces come in. Like Ole Leraz, got a chance to speak to him last week, and as a person, he comes across as a lovely guy. And we saw what he can do on the pitch in that game on Saturday. How do you look at pre-season so far? You've still got another couple of weeks down there. Then you've got to get ready for what's looking like a tough game in Costa Rica against a side that's really hitting some good form right now.
Yeah. A year ago, I didn't know what to think of it at this point, right? But now I have a much better feeling. I think that the players in general look strong. We are playing a lot of different lineups because we know that's going to happen throughout the season, but we also want players to not to get overloaded too early. It's a long camp we are at, and the first game, it was not played under conditions that was normal. I would not take anything away from our opponents, but it was just a difficult game to play, and we all saw that we didn't get much out of it. It wasn't tactically, we didn't get much. We couldn't take much away from the game, and that was just a little bit disappointing because that's what we want. We want to use the games to also get some information, and we want to learn something from the games. Then we had the other game, the second game the other day, and that was good for many parts. It was a good opponent, and we also saw that there's some things that we need to do better and get the better flow of a game when we have the ball and be better at penetrating the opposition's last line and stuff like that. So I think, you always get and seek a lot of information. It's a little bit different because you don't build up towards a game the same way that you do in the game in the season, because you still want to work on the physical parts and you change the whole team in the break and stuff like that. So I think it's I think we got what from this camp so far what we wanted. I think a lot of players look very, very strong, and that's a good starting point. We don't start at the same point as last year, so that's a good thing. I think we start at a different place, and we don't have to go through as many things this season, but we still have to sharpen up and make sure that we're physically strong when we start the season, and also that we know how to play, and we know we can find our rhythm with the ball and all that stuff.
When we last spoke, we did our fun thing about, what's Christmas like in Denmark, and what would you like to be your Christmas present to be? And you said a fit and healthy Ryan Gauld. Now, unfortunately, he's had to undergo surgery, but it looks like he's going to be back in April. Just how big a blow is that to your plans? Because you've never had the chance to have a 90-minute Ryan Gauld yet, and a chance for him and Thomas and to kind of work together. Does it derail things a little bit for you?
Yeah, it does, and more so because I think it's just, I really feel for Ryan.
Yeah.
Right. That's the most important thing. We figured out without. We did last year, and we did well, but that's not what it's about. Of course, Ryan is a great player, and we can see when he's fit and when he's close to his fitness, as he was coming towards the end of the season last year. He played very strongly when he came in against San Diego, and you can see what he can bring to a team, and also the mental thing that he can help. And he is a guy who's close to peaking at his football career, and of course it's really tough when he's not ready to play because he's done so much good for this club. And but he'll be back at one point, and we'll be looking forward to that. And in the meantime, I'm not the guy that talks too much about the players we don't have, but in the case of Ryan, I would say that it's definitely, I've not been the right coach for him, right?
Not a lot.
You can't keep healthy under me. No, I don't know, but it's just I just think that it's for me, when I came in, obviously he was one of the players that I had studied on beforehand and knew about, and now he haven't really been playing for us since I came. So I'm looking forward to when that happens.
Yeah, I think we all are. Last thing, it's less than 3 weeks now to the MLS season gets underway. It seems crazy, but you've got a game before that as well. Good. It's, if you look at the start to the season, there's some road spells coming up that's going to be tough later in the year with World Cup and stadium stuff. 9 out of the first 10 games are at home. Do you talk to the team about, this is your chance to make this a home fortress and get what could be massive points on the board really early on if you can do that?
Not yet. I think we spoke also about that last year. I think we were a difficult team to play in at BC Place, and we should be always. And I think that's definitely something that we're gonna also speak about. But it's too early, to talk about now. We are focused on different details, and it could be a great start to the season if we can really have a fortress at home and make sure that we do well, but on the other hand, it should not make us unambitious when we're away. So I think we've been a good side last year, both home and away, and we should be that again this season. So I think we're definitely we know about the schedule, but we'll be talking about, of course, that we want to be a good home team. But it's not like then if we don't really get the results in the beginning, that it's still going to be a long season. And the way we also have to be able to get the results away. So I think it is a thing, but it's not the only thing that we have to focus on. And maybe we're going to get a couple of games away in the Champions Cup. Who knows? Last year we got a couple away, right? So we have to see how that develops for us. And as you said, the first game away, it's going to be tough in Costa Rica, and I always, remember myself that the first game as a Whitecaps coach I actually lost, and coming out of a season where almost everything went well.
Yeah, I think everyone's forgotten about that.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? So we forget about that. All of a sudden, wow, we lost it in Costa Rica last year, but we'll be ready for that one, and hopefully we'll be doing well, and we'll be ready for 3 days later starting out the season at home. And I can't wait coming back to BC Place. Last memory from there was great, and I think hopefully we're ready to play. Hopefully a kind of football that everybody would like to come and see. And yeah.
Well, thank you for your time today, as always. It's like 2025 was a blast. Can't wait to see what this holds in store. Try and get some sun while you're still down there, because it's in short supply here. So, yeah, safe travels, and we'll see you in a few weeks.
It's short supplies here as well, but I'll try to get whatever I can, okay? We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
That's great. Thank you so much, Jesper.
Bye, Mike.
He's the gaffer. You can't try it on with him. He's the gaffer. Even when he's on a limb. He's the gaffer. When his back's against the wall, has the answer to it all.
The gaffer, Jesper Sorensen there. And it is going to be a tough act to follow in 2026. There's no getting away from that. There have been some big departures, but you're looking at hopefully a season where Ryan Gauld is pretty much going to be playing for maybe 80-85% of it. A season where Thomas Muller has just got used to MLS, has had some rest after a 16-18 months of playing non-stop, and can really contribute to this team. Some exciting new additions. The core group kept together, and this mysterious fourth signing that could be coming. A hunch is it has to be an experienced striker as well to bolster that attack. I'm excited for what 2026 holds in store for the team. I hope you are too, and we'll have it covered all the way for you here on AFTN. Now, before anyone says, why did you not ask him about the stadium issue? What is he meant to say? He's the head coach of the team. We had 20 minutes to chat. I wanted to talk about the on-pitch stuff, which he has an actual say in. But you have to think as well, though, like his contract is up at the end of the year. And as we said when we're talking about players in the last part, if you don't know where the team's going to be playing 100%, you don't sign that contract extension. Also didn't ask him about the Senegalese forward Sheikh Sabali, because he's not going to comment on what is a rumour just now, because he can't. And I wanted to just use my 20-ish minutes wisely on things that he would talk about. So hopefully you enjoyed that. I always enjoy these chats with Jesper. But that is it for the Whitecaps chat for this episode. We've still got more football chat to come. One more part to bring you, as we bring you the latest instalment in our Canadian Soccer A to Z, our second feature interview, this time with Forge FC's Kyle Bekker, and look ahead to the 2026 CONCACAF Champions Cup that kicks off for a couple of the Canadian teams next week. We'll be back with all of that after this episode song from the C86 cassette.
Hi, I'm Kyle Bekker, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's this episode's track from the C86 cassette, the iconic release from NME magazine back in May 1986. We're paying tribute to 40 years of that iconic, influential masterpiece. And that was track 5 on the cassette from a 4-piece band from Derbyshire in England, the Bodines. And that was Teresa. The Bodines were around from 1985 to 1990. They released that song Teresa as a single in February 1986 on the famous Creation record label. It got a re-release March 1987, peaking at number 4 in the UK indie charts. The band only released one album, 1987's Played, 6 singles as well. It's a band I always feel should have been bigger than they were. That was one of the best songs for me on the C86 cassette, certainly one of the most melodic as well. And we'll be back with track 6 from the C86 cassette on the next episode of the show. But we're going to get back to the football chat now, and it's time to bring you this episode's instalment of AFTN's Canadian Soccer A to Z. And we're up to the letter E this week, Zach.
I'm going to go just kind of the moment. So apologies if this is a little bit too simple and too front of mind, but I'm going to go with Stachio.
That's a good one.
I think he's such a key. He was such a key part to qualifying for the 2022 World Cup. He's a key element to the side for the 2026 World Cup. He's a wonderfully talented, gifted midfielder and vice captain of the team, who has also, I think, been a big part of Canadian football for his, going and playing at Porto. Also, you could say choosing Canada. He could have played for Portugal. Yeah, he's in an interesting moment right now where. When does the window close? The window close, or is it tomorrow morning? Like I forget. Like when it's on the weekend, usually they extend it to the Monday at 5 or something, right?
Yeah, the Portuguese window, it's the same as the Scottish one. It closes on February 2nd, a second before midnight. So yeah, Monday.
Yeah,
he's got to a second before midnight.
So he could be on the move, whether that's a move, or more likely a loan, just to increase his playing time ahead of the World Cup. But anyways, yeah, I'm gonna go Stefan Stachio. I know you're gonna have some more interesting options than me on this one.
Well, we never discussed this before we record it. So whoever goes second, we always have to have 2 options because we don't know what the first person's going to pick. So my honourable mention, and I didn't want to go for this, so I'm glad you didn't go for my main one, is Edmonton teams. But we'd already done Commonwealth Stadium for Edmonton under C. That was your selection. So I didn't really necessarily want to have our main one as Edmonton. But I give a shout out to them because they have played a big part. And I was surprised there wasn't more professional Edmonton teams. And it might explain why they don't have one just now. Edmonton Drillers played 4 seasons in the NASL.
I saw them play indoor once in Saskatoon.
Yeah, because they play indoor as well. But 79 to 82, they were in the NASL. Edmonton Eagles existed for 1 season. Last week for D, I did domestic leagues, and I spoke about the CPSL. That was a one-and-done season in 1983, and Edmonton Eagles won that year. You had Edmonton Brickmen that were around for 5 seasons, from 86 to 90. First one was in the Western Soccer Alliance before they played 4 in the Canadian Soccer League. Edmonton Aviators had 1 season in 2004 in USL, and then the longest lasting team, FC Edmonton, RIP. 2011 to 2022, 7 seasons in the NASL. From 2011 to 2017, a hiatus even in 2018, and then 4 years in the CPL from 2019 to 2022 before sadly folding. And everyone talks, Edmonton needs to get a team back, and just hasn't happened yet. I mean, they've got their League One teams, and they've got great youth teams there, but do you think we'll ever see a professional team in Edmonton again?
There needs to be one. That's the thing, right? It's not one
Yeah.
of the places where you're like, oh, should they or shouldn't they? It's like, no, for the betterment of the country as a whole, there needs to be a couple of things about that. One is if they did have one and CPL lived out their dream of having promotion relegation, I'm sure they'd get relegated at some point.
Yes.
Also, I resisted the urge for years, the first couple of years, well, the first year of Vancouver FC, I really wanted to have either a railing banner or have a protest style banner that just said, there were maybe two parts to it. It said, we support the return of FC Edmonton or the Eddies or whatever, and then have a second banner that said, because we want the 12 points.
That's
Which
fair.
I know people listening to this are shouting at their device saying, yeah, that's how people view Vancouver FC. But
Well, yeah. Well, talking about people shouting at their devices, Asa Raymond from Global, friend of the show and co-host when you're not here, he messaged us saying he was yelling during our one last week if we weren't going to pick Dero.
oh yeah,
He was
yeah,
like, Dero.
yeah, I can imagine.
So my main E,
Wait, do you want me to do a
yeah, you do your honourable
okay.
one first.
My honorable
And this is
mention.
my E.
No, it's not.
Then
I
I'm
don't
fucked.
No, I don't think it is. This is just someone who had played 1 year in Canada, but is like an international legend icon of the game.
Oh,
And like Stefan Eustáquio, he has a major tie to Portugal, and that is Eusebio,
yes.
who played in the 1975-76 season for Toronto's Metro Croatia, 21 appearances, 16 goals, and won the NASL with them.
Like when we talk about NASL in the 70s and the players that played in that league,
Yeah.
I know everyone's like, oh, Messi and Muller and all the guys nowadays, but it's like, it was incredible, the players that they had there. So yeah,
And
let's get to my main E.
yeah.
And my E is a team that without this team, I don't know that the Whitecaps that we know them today would even exist. Because out of the ashes of NASL Vancouver Whitecaps came the 86ers. 40-year anniversary of the 86ers first season as well this year. And I mentioned before, there is going to be a retro 40th anniversary 86ers kit that I believe is coming out after the World Cup in the summer. And if you've seen the other retro kits in MLS, you'll get the idea of what. So it's not the main second kit, which incidentally, Zach, I've seen a picture of the second kit. Not a big fan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'll talk to you about it off air, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
And we'll talk about CPL kits in a future show because they came out this week as well. But the 86ers formed 1986, their first season, played in the CSL in 1987. That was their first year of playing. They were winners in 88, 89, 90, 91. They were the dynasty of the Canadian Soccer League. Won the Commissioner's Cup in 1993, the North American Club Championship in 1990. And if the 86ers hadn't started in 1986 out of the ashes of the Whitecaps, I don't think that we would have had the Whitecaps in the USL, which then, of course, led to the Whitecaps in MLS. And they changed their name. They readopted the Whitecaps name in 2001. But from 86 to 2000, they were the 86ers and named that for two reasons: to commemorate the founding of the city of Vancouver in 1886, and Expo 86, of course, was in Vancouver that year as well. Canadian national team were in the World Cup in 86, and of course, 86, the famous Southsiders chant.
Yeah, but there was also, wasn't like 86 people put in like $500 or whatever?
Yes, actually, yeah. As the West Coast Soccer Society. We should find out who those 86 people are and if they're still
Some people, we know some of them.
Yeah,
or one
well,
of them.
we know who owns the 86ers name.
We do.
We won't put that out there though. But yeah, someone owns that name. So maybe it'll make a comeback at some point. But yeah, for me, my E is the 86ers.
Good choice. Excellent choice.
We'll be back next week with, surprise, surprise, FTN a few things that we've got in mind to put in for that. Have also had people get in touch with suggestions for future letters, future shows as well. So if there's somebody or a club or just some aspect of Canadian soccer that you feel should be in our A to Z, get in touch with us and we'll at least give them a shout out if it's not one of our main selections from Zach or myself. I mean, moving up to F, who knows? We might even talk about Forge FC, and they are going to be the first Canadian club in competitive action in 2026. Their CONCACAF Champions Cup campaign gets underway in Hamilton on Tuesday evening. Mexican powerhouse Tigres are coming to town, and it's going to be another tall task for Forge to get through that one, as it's going to be for all three of the CPL sides in the tournament this year. 4 Canadian teams represented in the tournament. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. But before that, I want to bring you this episode's second feature interview. And when you think of Forge FC, if I was to say to you, give me a player who you would describe as Mr. Forge. Now, some of you might say Bobby Smyrniotis as the head coach, and that would be very, very much correct. If you're looking at players, Tristan Borges would get a mention, but I think you can't really look beyond midfielder Kyle Bekker, the 35-year-old, came through the Sigma Academy into Forge FC when they came into the CPL in 2019. Before that, though, had a good career. A couple of seasons with Toronto, played in MLS as well for Dallas, for Montreal, made the move to USL, where he played for San Francisco Deltas, winning the 2017 USL Championship under the guidance of head coach Mark DeSantis. Another year in North Carolina FC before going to Forge in 2019, a club he's been with for the rest of his career. 18 caps for the Canadian men's national team as well at senior level. And Kyle Bekker really just epitomises everything about Forge, the success. Every single season he has won something with the club. He was also named the CPL Player of the Year in 2020. And for some reason, although we've spoken to Kyle in various press conferences and post-game stuff, we've never actually sat down and done a one-to-one interview with him. So we thought, why not remedy that as the 2026 season gets underway? And it's an excellent chat. I think you'll really enjoy this. If you haven't got a lot of interest in Forge or even the CPL, this is one of those interviews that you listen to what Kyle has to say, and you're like, I think hard to come away from it and not feel, I wish he was a player at my team, where the attitude and the mentality that just oozes through the interview. So go stick the kettle on, grab another biscuit of choice and sit back and enjoy our chat with Forge FC captain Kyle Bekker. So, Kyle, thank you for joining us. First time we've had you on the show. It's been following the weather out east. It's not great footballing weather right now out in Ontario.
No, it's a little nippy for sure.
I can play nicely into your hands, though, for Tuesday night. I'm sure you're hoping.
Yeah, I just hope the pitch is in a decent condition. I'm sure those who were watching last year saw some funny moments on the ice. Ultimately, we just want a good pitch to play in and as cold as possible.
Talking of that, the final last year, sadly Forge weren't in it, but as a purist from Scotland that sees games never played in those conditions, as a player, would you have welcomed playing in that snow conditions? There was so much said about, it's Canada, we play in this. But surely it spoils a showcase final like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two ways to look at it. I think you can throw your toys around and be upset, or you can embrace it and just be a part of something that's very unique. Growing up as a kid, year round, every Saturday and Sunday, my local team would play outside. We'd shovel the snow before training, and we'd get out there and we'd have the time of our lives. Yeah, it's fun. Obviously, yeah, like in an ideal situation. There isn't snow on the ground. The pitch is immaculate and the weather's perfect. But
Yeah.
it
I
is
mean,
what you gotta lean into it.
I love playing in the snow, but for a championship game, it just felt weird. So we'll talk a little bit about kind of your journey in this chart. But I mean, let's start things off. Another season, bizarrely, quickly getting underway on Tuesday. I mean, your 14th season as a pro. Is this the earliest that you can remember actually playing a competitive game?
I'm not sure what our game was last year, but I think it was around this time. So no, it's kind of been something we've kind of come to expect here at Forge FC for sure, playing in these early Champion Cups matches. They're the ones we want to play in. We know what comes with it, comes with the territory with the early start when you qualify for this competition. And again, there's two ways of looking at it. You can be upset at the weather, you could be buzzing that you're getting yourself going and you're not sitting around just training.
As I mentioned, you're about to go into your 14th year as a pro. When you look back to 2013, the draft, breaking through with TFC, does that just feel an age away now?
Yeah, it does and it doesn't. I think I've matured in a ton of different ways, but I still feel like a little kid at times. I still feel like I'm that little guy who just got drafted, who's ready to get going, fulfill his dreams, and kickstart a professional career doing something that I've always dreamt of doing. So it's flown by, man. And I remember early in my career, guys that were at the tail end talked about how it goes by in a minute, and it's one of those things where you wish you could just bottle that up and fully embrace it when it's told, because it truly flies by.
How much do you feel you've still got left in the tank? I mean, you're still playing. I can't believe you're 35. It's like
Me neither.
I know. It's like I know you've been around for a while, but when I was like checking, I was like, "How old is he?" And I was like, "Oh, geez, I didn't think you were 35." And you don't play like you're 35. You must feel you've still got a good few seasons in you.
Yeah, I mean, body wise, I'm still healthy. I'm feeling good. I knock on wood, I don't have too many injuries that keep me out of things. And yeah, as I said, my mind still feels like I'm young, but the reality is I'm getting older, and if anything, it's more just the family stuff out of this, and those are the things that you got to weigh now as you get older. I think last year was a big one. Turning 35 felt like a milestone in the middle of the season. Now I feel like I aged myself, and now the idea of having a 36th birthday in the middle of this season, that seems feels a little geriatric, but.
Hey, I'm 58 this year, so you're
Yeah,
a
yeah.
spring
Listen,
chicken.
in life, I know I still have a lot to go, but obviously in the life of a professional athlete, once you cross that 30 mark, it's you're looking at the way out more than the way in. So it's a funny one, but yeah, I still feel good. I still enjoy it, and I think that's been the thing that's been constant is I have an attitude where I still think I have a ton to learn. I'm fortunate to work with a bunch of good guys, a good group, a good coaching staff, people who keep me engaged, and I like having these football conversations. I like learning the way the game's adapting and changing and evolving with it, and finding new ways to have an impact. So I think there's multiple different ways that you can look at the whole thing and keep yourself engaged and keep growing.
Taking you way back then, like when did you fall in love with the game, and when did you know I can be a pro, I can do this as a career?
It's looking back, it's like football is the only thing I think I've ever truly loved from such a young age. I was fortunate enough to have an older brother who played sports. I had a dad who loved sports, so I was involved right away. I was simply just doing everything my brother was doing. And him being 6 years older, and me being the baby, I think I was just quick to try and keep up with them. So I was doing things maybe earlier than some kids, but it was simply just hang out with my brother, play with his team, go to practice, and at that time I think my dad was his coach, so I was going regardless. And I mean, I was never batting an eye at it. I loved it. I had all his old kits under my bed. I'd try and wear whatever color he was wearing, and practice was the greatest thing on earth. It's not like I didn't like school or anything like that. I just enjoyed football. I loved it. I love training. I love going out in the backyard. I love recreating goals that I watched on TV or moments or anything I saw from the limited access we had back in the 90s. But anything I saw, I just took it in stride and tried to recreate it in my own, and I just fell in love with the whole thing. Like I love training, I love playing, I love getting better, I love competing. So that's just been it. And then listen, I don't know if there was an exact moment I can look back to that said, "Well, I can do this." It was just simply like, "This is what I want to do," and that was just the driving force. And I was going to find a way to make it happen regardless. And
Mm.
there was points in my career I thought it was going to happen a lot earlier, and things change, and you get thrown a couple curveballs, and you got to deviate and go different routes, and that just kind of took me on my journey. I went from trying to go over to Europe to coming back, resetting, going to school, trying to go to Europe again, coming back, getting drafted, and going the MLS route, and it's just been one of those ones where it's you just got to keep going. One door closes, another one will open.
And like you're a Sigma boy. When I think of interior football as somebody from like not from Canada, I think of Brampton because every player seems to come from Brampton, it feels. And Sigma from the youth side. And like coming through that system with what Bobby built there as well, and then taking it into Forge, how much do you attribute to what Sigma had to the success that Forge have had in the early part of this league?
Yeah, man, I think my age group was the very first Sigma team that existed. And then off of that, they were able to build the academy system and the age group of Richie Larea and Kyle Laird and those guys, they were able to have that foundation from the very start of their youth career journey, where we were kind of picking the pieces up at 15, 16, making things happen, playing under, I think we played as a Olympic Flame in a men's league at first, just to have a bunch of 16-year-olds continue to be competitive and push the envelope. And we had a couple of older guys who still love the game, who were able to play with us to essentially just protect us from all the older guys in that league kicking the shit out of us. But it was yeah, it was good. It was the point in time for when that connection happened, I think was very pivotal for myself. Just where I was at, I was a smaller player. The nature of the OSA and the CSA at the time just wasn't really looking at a profile like myself. So while I was in it, I wasn't necessarily having the most success there, and I just felt like it was kind of passing me by. It was a lot more physical. It was a lot more up and down. And it was funny because our youth team just had all the success in the world. We beat the guys who were playing for the provincial team and all that stuff, year over year, month after month, getting called into the camps and stuff. We were beating them week after week in our youth team. And then connecting with Bobby, it was kind of just like, oh, like this is how I view the game. Like these are bringing out my strengths, and it's just like that control, the technical, tactical side of things, and that was the stuff that I loved from an early age, and it just kind of opened my eyes to a whole other world to it. It gave me that confidence again, that belief, and sort of brought the enjoyment back at a very important time because I was around 15 years old, kind of falling out of love with it.
Mm.
So it was the timing was perfect, and then that sort of just gave me a brand new start almost, and it kind of just refreshed everything, reaffirmed some things that I always believed in myself, and then just to hear from another coach and obviously a future mentor like that is very reassuring.
So you're going into your eighth season with Forge. 4 North Star Cups, 3 CPL Shields. Still haven't done the elusive double. No team's done that. But that aside, what still motivates you then? What keeps you wanting to keep coming back for more with this team?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different things. There's the personal side, which is just like the truly just the love of the game. I don't really want to just sit at a desk just yet. I love it. I love coming in every single day. I love training. I love getting better. I love the physical element of pushing your body to something. As you get older, tailoring it, figuring out different ways to take care of your body, ways to get stronger, little things like that. I love that. And then obviously within the group, there is that leadership role of being the captain. And I've never looked at it as like this thing that I've chased, but the responsibility is obviously is something that I'm grateful for, and I know that I have a ton of experience at different levels, especially within North American football and the landscape that it offers. I've seen different multitudes of it. Obviously the game has continued to grow, and I've played at different times, but I know what it takes. I know what doesn't work, and I've made mistakes, and just trying to impart that little bit of wisdom on the next generation, just into how to conduct yourself, how to go about your business, how to do that. So I think that that whole being a part of a group, that team mentality is something that I love. Bringing like, for example, this year we have some turnover. You're bringing in a new group. The nature of football, you're gonna have guys from all different walks of life, different cultures, different religions, all that stuff. And the idea of getting everyone on the same page in a short period of time to go out and do something within a year before it changes completely is awesome. That challenge is amazing. And so I would say more than anything, it's just the journey of all of it. It's every year it's the start of a new journey, and you just go through it. And obviously there's moments that you're going to look back on at the end of the season. It's always going to be games, it's going to be goals, it's going to be that, but it's really just like the process of it. The stuff we see is the stuff in the games that everyone watches, and obviously that's a culmination of all the hard work that goes in that week, the weeks prior, the months prior. When it all works, it's beautiful, it's fantastic. We can talk about that. We can talk about the goals, the special moments, but the reality is like, who's going to show up when it sucks? Who's going to show up when you really wanted a day off? Who's going to be able to come in after an awful travel day and have the right mentality and go? And by no means am I perfect, but when you have a handful of guys where it's like we're on the same page, it's awesome, because sometimes it is, you got to be in the mud to really realize, like, do you love this or not? Why do you show up? And when you have that, it kind of keeps you going, and that's when things get good.
Yeah. And I mean, you're clearly doing something right at Forge. It's like you've been a joy to watch in the past 7 seasons, just in general. Big challenge, though, coming up on Tuesday. And, like, it's always going to be a tough draw for the CPL sides. For some reason, you keep getting Mexican powerhouses in the first round, whereas the other teams seem to avoid that, or get MLS teams or whatever. So, I mean, it was Chivas, Monterrey, now you've got Tigres. What are you expecting from these two games?
Yeah, I think we know what to expect. Their quality, there's just no denying it. They have world-class talent up and down the roster. They're a great side. They've had success historically in this competition, but they're competing at a high level in their domestic league. They got, as I said, they got world-class talent up and down the roster, and we know it's going to be a battle. But the unique thing about football is we've seen it time after time. 90 minutes of football, anything can happen.
True. This early start, like last year, I was thinking, oh, these teams are starting so early and they've got to wait 2 months to the season starts. I can go one of two ways. But you guys, it just seemed to really benefit you getting together so early, having that extra time together. We all know about the unbeaten start that you had to the season. Did it just feel different last year because you were back so early and playing at a high level so early?
I think last year was it was interesting. Obviously, we knew we brought in some new faces, and we knew there was going to be a little turnover from the year before, and obviously there's going to be that expectation of Forge and competing for titles and having that success. That's something that is talked about internally all the time, and I think anyone who's new comes in and puts on the jersey understands there's a little bit of a weight to it. But last year we just felt it in the group, and by no means was it pretty early on. Like, it wasn't the best football we've ever played. Training camp was tough. It was grueling. It was a lot went into it, and then to go in and play those two games in Monterrey, I think we came out of it and I was like, this could be difficult. But within those two games, there were moments where it was like, okay, guys, we do have quality here, and it's a matter of getting things right on the same page. And honestly, it was just a big credit to the group where we spoke after that second leg, and this is just a moment where we have to take a honest look at ourselves in the mirror, and it's how do we go about our business? Because going into these games, the funny thing is everyone wants to be a part of these games. Everyone thinks it's going to be great. Everyone thinks it's going to be this, but you don't want to go into any game and get popped. And there was moments where it was just like you felt the discrepancy in the quality, and within that, there were still moments where we were able to put our foot on the ball and play and kind of show our brand of football and show that we do have quality and that we have guys who want to be at a higher level. So then it's a matter of how do we take from that, learn from it, but then implement it on a day-to-day basis because that's the difference. It's how do you train, how do you compete, how do you do all those little things time and time again to get better? Because I think there are a handful of players where without a doubt, you could just slip them into another team like that of that quality, and they would be able to show well. They can play at that level. They do have the qualities to do it. So then how do we do that at ours and come in day to day with that mentality and that dedication to get better? And it's simply just training and competing and pushing each other. Everyone wants to do it, but the reality is we're playing in the CPL. We don't have that on and off switch. We're not Messi.
Yeah.
And you can look at that and say that's a negative, or you can look at it and just be this is a reality check because there's only one. There's only one Messi.
Yeah. And it's like you look at the salaries as well, and it's like the salary budget for the whole league for each team is like probably what some players on these Mexican sides are on.
Yeah, but then you look at something like that, and I think that's a big problem is the guys look at that and they say, oh, this guy's on this much.
Yeah.
But if you're on that much, or if you get handed that much money and you're not doing the right things prior to it, why are you going to do it when you get that salary?
Yeah.
And so that's the learning curve where guys just think, oh, I'd go to the gym if I was making 300,000 a week. But it's bullshit.
Yeah.
So if you're not doing it, if you're not doing it here, if you're not doing it in front of, and again, with all due respect to the CPL, like we're not playing in front of 30,000 people a week. There is no pressure. The pressure comes internally. The pressure comes from us and the higher ups and the staff that demand more and expect us to be playing in a championship or a trophy or playing for a trophy every single season to keep pushing ourselves forward to demand more. But the expectation that, oh, if we had a nicer gym or, oh, if we had this, if we had a grass pitch, all the things, that's just an excuse. That just stops you. And I think that's where everyone needs to look at themselves and say, are we going to learn from this and grow and do the best we can with what we have and push ourselves more because we are capable of more? Or is it just, I'll do it if I have a Mercedes in the car park?
That's fantastic attitude. So, this season, we know the rivalry with Cavalry. I've known Tommy from pre-CPL days because I'm involved with TSS. TSS and Foothills had a rivalry, and like seeing Cavalry and Forge over the years, that rivalry's been huge. Now you've got Ottawa and another Ontario side. Is there chat? Look, we want to not just win everything, but we want to show we are the best footballing team in this league because they made so much of that last year that they play the best football. But it was you guys that were getting the results.
Yeah, and you could look at all those games, and I'm pretty sure we popped them off the park. And
yeah,
like the game we played at home that only ended 2-0, I believe. That should have been 6, and it would have been a whole different conversation. It would have been very difficult to do it. And again, credit to them. They played well. They figured out a way, and they were the team that lifted the cup at the end of the season. So I can't take anything away from them, but it is what it is. People love to talk their talk. Everyone, it's the thing that keeps them going, and it's fine, but we'll see.
Is everyone gunning for them now more than you, do you feel?
No, I hate to break it to you, but there hasn't been a single person in this building who's even talked about them. So
that's good. No, that's good. I've got to say, because Fords keep winning, we joke on our show, we're not big fans of Fords because they're always winning and you always want the team that wins to lose. But their coach last year did an amazing job. It turned me into a Forge fan. It's like, so there you go. Last thing to ask you. It's not been confirmed, but the rumours are there's going to be the new offside rule in the CPL for the coming season. As an attacking player, how much does that excite you? That you've got to have clear daylight before you're offside now?
As a about to be 36-year-old, I'll take as much of the lead as we can. Listen, it is what it is. The rules are constantly changing. It feels like the offside rule has gone full circle from when I was 7 years old to whatever it was going to be to coming all the way back to
Oh,
it is
yeah.
what it is. Ultimately, the rest just simply needs to get better. I don't think it's something that's been
Yep.
talked about enough. And again, it's no disrespect to them. It's just a reality.
Yeah. Oh,
Their
no, we
quality,
talk about this
yeah,
constantly. It's like
like
crazy.
the league has grown in so many facets and they've seemingly got worse. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if this is another thing that who knows? I don't know how they're going to do. And I'm always going to give them the benefit of the doubt that maybe they're going to work on something and get a little better, but who knows?
Well, good luck for the year ahead. Good luck against Tigres as well. We'd love to see pull that shock off. Could end up meeting the Whitecaps at some point in the competition, which would be nice. Cheers for all your time today, Kyle. Good luck for the year, and it's been a pleasure chatting to you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Kyle Bekker there, Zach, and I said it earlier in the show, said it in the introduction there. I think if you listen to that, you want Kyle Bekker as a player on your team. His attitude, his mentality, what it needs to be a pro. Saying that people talk all the time about, oh, look at the salary that this player gets in MLS or somewhere else in the world, or another Canadian player, or oh yeah, I'd go to the gym every day and be fit and do all this extra work if I had that salary. And he's right. If you don't do that work when you don't have the salary, you're never going to make the breakthrough and have that salary probably.
Yeah.
And if you're not motivated to play for a CPL team or a League One team,
Yeah.
you don't have the right mentality to be a pro.
Not at all. No.
So yeah, I loved everything about that interview. Have to chat to Kyle. Again, that was superb.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoyed that. We'll wrap up the football chat by talking about the Canadian Champions Cup. It gets underway crazily on Tuesday night. 2 of the Canadian teams in action in this first round of the first round. The Whitecaps and Ottawa involved in the second round. So just to wrap up the Forge chat before we get to Vancouver FC, how do you think they'll do against Tigres? I mentioned to Kyle there, other teams have drawn MLS teams or other teams from other countries in this round. They've had 3 Liga MX teams. They've just been so unfortunate with a draw, and now they've got Tigres.
It's not not an easy draw for them. It'll be tough. I think they have an opportunity to maybe take advantage of the weather in their situation in this game.
Yeah,
and
because it is horrible.
Yeah, hold out, keep a clean sheet, maybe nick a victory or earn a draw, and then it's all to play for when you go back or when you go down to is it Monterrey, right? Tigres, yeah, they're the Monterrey team. Tigres for me is a team, the Mexican teams I don't totally mind, partly because I have some friends who are Tigres fans. But yeah, I mean, in this case, and as much as listeners of the show will know, I'm no fan of Forge. I would be happy for them to.
Hey, as I said to Kyle there, like Mahia, Ottawa's made me a Forge fan.
That's good. That's a good one. Yeah, the other thing is we know that the sentiments shared there by Kyle Bekker are maybe not totally adopted from his coach, but we know how Bobby sees this, and
yeah,
I love his mentality. I love his the way he stewards that club. Yeah, just his approach to this is. He'll talk about the difficulties, but for him, they can't be excuses. Mm-hmm. So the weather or the not
disparity in salary. Or,
yeah, and disparity.
Like they know the players Tigres have.
Yeah, but even just the fact that this is more in a time period that's better for them.
Yes.
That kind of stuff. He might talk
that's
about those
that's
things.
the crazy thing.
Yeah, he might talk about those things, but he'll never actually make them into an actual excuse. And yeah, just have a ton of time for him and respect for him. And
I mean, it's a tough one for them. And they're one of the best teams in the CPL.
Yes.
And if you think that's tough, Wednesday night out in Langley, the defending champions, the team that beat the Whitecaps 5-0 in the final, Cruz Azul, are coming to take on Vancouver FC. I don't think they could have got a harder draw unless they'd got Miami maybe, but they weren't even in the first round. from the teams that were there, and incidentally, I think it's crazy that the defending champions have to go in the first round. If you're
Yeah.
giving team buys, give the defending champions, who should also, I think, automatically get a spot, but they don't either.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cruz Azul coming to town, but they're in the middle of a busy league period just now. They have to go and play Toluca on Saturday, just 3 days later. I've seen some Cruz Azul fans online speculating that they might bring a weaker side because they'll just take this as a formality.
Well, that's the thing. I think that they could do that. I think that Tigres might do that, especially when you're looking at the weather and maybe not wanting to cause any difficulty for your squad.
Yeah. Any long-term injury, tweaking something.
Yeah. So I could see that. I could see that happening.
I mean, it's a momentous occasion for Vancouver
Oh, yeah.
FC. Just talk a little bit about it, how you're feeling about it, what it means to the club.
Yeah, I think it's huge. It's another part of, history. First time playing in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, playing the holders of the tournament and, a massive Mexican side. The wrinkle that you mentioned there, that this is also the side that won the final against the Whitecaps is just another interesting thing. There's going to be a number of Whitecaps fans who come to this game just partly because of that. I think there's also going to be a bunch of people at this game who I think had a positive experience in terms of watching Vancouver FC in the Voyageurs Cup final at BC Place. My understanding is there's over 4,000 tickets that have been moved, and there's still there's some being sold every day.
I'm
Obviously,
genuinely surprised it's not more, I've got to say.
am.
The problem, though, 7 o'clock, and I know a lot of this is TV, 7 o'clock in Langley is a killer because of the traffic.
Yeah.
People from downtown will be like, I'm not even going to try and get up the highway for 7 o'clock. I've got to be honest, because I can see the highway from my window. If it's how it is for a lot of the midweek nights, and it's just the traffic's not moving, I'm not going to go up. You'll be there on our behalf, but I can't leave super early and sit 2 hours in traffic just to get there. So we'll see how that goes. But 7:30, you're more likely the traffic's cleared and you'll get out. The weather looks good. It looks like it's going to be dry. Chilly-ish, maybe 5 to 7 degrees, but that's fine.
Yeah, but
It's
that's
to be
also
a little bit chilly for them.
exactly that's the downside is that it might be advantageous for Vancouver FC to have the weather be horrible rain or very cold rain or hail or and it looks like it might not be that. So regardless, I feel like the weather is actually going to be more of a thing in terms of like how many people come. Like, so of those 4,000 plus tickets sold, how many of them are kind of have the perspective you just shared? You talking about traffic, but when it comes to the weather, right?
Oh yeah, I mean it's an open air stadium. If it was pissing down, I think folk would not turn up for it.
Yeah. So that could play a turnout, an impact in terms of the turnout, and also kind of like walk up. So it'll be interesting to see. It's likely to be the second most attended match at the stadium for Vancouver FC, right? After the inaugural game was a full sellout.
It puts them on the map, and just to be in these conversations with these teams.
Yeah. Oh no, it's huge. It's huge. I think the discouragement is in that, the speed bumps I think that have been hit in terms of just kind of filling out the squad, right? Because it's not they still need a striker. I think I think they still are looking maybe also for another center back. They've one player they've lost, and this hasn't been announced publicly, but he made it known on social media. It's not a bad thing actually at all. But Michel is going on loan to Palmeiras in Brazil, and so that's advantageous for the club financially, but it's unfortunate because he's been such played such a big role. But also the one upside is maybe means more time for a player like Emmerich in the middle of the park, which I would be very, very happy to see. This addition of whatever striker will land at Willoughby won't be until after these two games happen, and likely same for any center back or any other additions. So who's going to start up top? What I'm hearing is that it won't be Taron Campbell, which might be to some people's relief because I know he's taken a lot of negative,
Yeah, a lot of flack.
a lot of flack. It sounds like a Missy is going to maybe be
You don't want a striker that's name's a Missy.
I know that is unfortunate. And he is more of a winger, but it sounds like in these preseason friendlies down in Phoenix against Paw's side, that he has been kind of maybe the number one striking option at this point. I really hope that no matter how things go, I hope Kevin Pogorny gets some time, either up front or playing behind or the striker, or even wing, even though that's not his maybe best or favorite position. But
I'm sure Nashi as well will just say to them, look, just go out, play freely, enjoy yourself. No one gives you a chance. Just go out and just show your best. You never know who's watching as well.
Yeah.
Like someone from Tigres could be watching that.
Yeah.
Or sorry, Cruz Azul could be watching. Someone from Tigres could be watching as well. But someone from Cruz Azul could be watching that and going, hey, this guy looks a real talent.
Yeah. Yeah. And so hopefully Nashi has them playing tight and compact. And yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think Morey's going to start at right back. Crawford, I think, is going to start at left back. I think you'll see Campagna with Field. Mosquito probably behind the striker. Bond on the wing. Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
It should be good. I won't ask you for a proper prediction because we don't know what kind of team Cruz Azul is going to bring. What are you hoping for?
Kirk said to me this week, he's like, what are our chances? And I said, son, like, this is like a 1% to, like, you know, get a draw. You know, I don't know what the betting odds on a game like this, but they have to be incredibly, incredibly low. Having said that, I think if they don't bring their top players, which again, I wouldn't blame them for. I don't see it as some disrespect or anything like that. I wouldn't blame them at all. Yeah, there's always a chance that Vancouver FC could go out and nick a draw or hold them to a clean sheet, right? I think when you look at if right now you just view this as just a one-off, right? You look at the final against the Whitecaps, and I know there's score effect or whatever, but I mean, when you go back and you watch that game, Kunle Dadaluk, who's no longer an Eagle, had a horrible game and was really at fault for three of the four goals or the first three goals or whatever it was. And not that the Whitecaps wouldn't have still overcome, but it was a game. And I think if they go out and they kind of play that way, I think they do have, even if it's very, very slim, they do have some kind of chance. And honestly, I think for some people, whether it's this single match or both legs, or maybe each leg, I think there are some people, or maybe it's just some Whitecaps fans, that if the score is anything below 5-0, they'd be like, well, you know, in one game they did better, you know, they did better. But
yes.
It could,
even though it might not be with a full strength team. I just tried to find the betting odds there. They don't seem to exist.
No. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I'm sure they do somewhere, but
I'll bet my house on Cruz Azul.
Yeah. But here's the thing. You get out and be a part of history.
Yes.
Right? I think what
else are you going to do on a Wednesday night in February? Come on.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Says me that's going to monitor the traffic. But yeah, good luck to them. We'll be on the call with Nashi on Tuesday. Zach will definitely be there for AFTN on Wednesday. I hope to be as well. But that is it now for the football chat. We can't finish though without this episode's wavelength. So wavelength is the part of the show where we play a song all about football or with the backdrop of football. And if you've been with us all year so far, you know that up until the World Cup is over, we're going to be playing World Cup themed songs for 2026, trying to get a variety, so it's not just songs about Scotland, England, Ireland, and the other English-speaking nations. So for this week, since we were chatting to Jesper Sorensen earlier in the show, I thought let's have a song for Denmark and the World Cup. So I'm going to bring you a song that was released in 2010, ahead of the World Cup in South Africa, from a singer-songwriter, Gunnar Kleeman from Copenhagen in Denmark, going under the name Kleeman, based in Nebraska, This is from an album called Fast Forward, The World Cup Goes Indie, an indie music companion to World Cup 2010. Originally released as Fast Forward Olé, it changed its name to The World Cup Goes Indie. This is Kleeman, Princes of Denmark.
The main voice of Denmark calls out, readiness is on. Be us, ourselves in Denmark. We will teach you to drink deep, to drink deep. So come on now, all you princes of Denmark. Let's claim what's truly ours. So gracious is the time that our faded cries out. Princess of Denmark, Princess of Denmark, we will be victorious. And you, the judges, bear of very eye that we are justly served. The Danes are really not in madness, but mad in craft. We must be cruel to be kind. We must be cruel to be kind. We must be cruel to be kind. So come on now, all you princes of Denmark. Let's claim what's truly ours. So gracious is the time that our faded cries out. Princess of Denmark, Princess of Denmark, we will be victorious. 1992 is here again. So come on now, all you princes of Denmark. Let's claim what's truly ours. So gracious is the time that our faded cries out. Princess of Denmark, Princess of Denmark, Princess of Denmark, Princess of Denmark, we will be victorious. Victorious. And the rest is silent.
Kleeman, Princes of Denmark there, with a little nod to the UEFA Euro Championship winning side from 1992. And we'll be back with another Wavelength song in next week's show. But that is it for this episode, Zach. Just before we go, any final thoughts from yourself? Anything caught your eye this week? Any shout-outs you want to give?
For those who maybe don't have the benefit of the extra podcast, one of the fun things this weekend was to reconnect with three Whitecaps players from the 2011 squad. Of course, Jay Demerit, and he was at the fireside chat event. But also there were Kevin Harms and Terry Dunfield, and got a chance to connect with all of them briefly. Kevin the most brief, but
Saw Terry in the toilets. Oof. There's an old callback for the show.
Oh, Michael. Anyways, no, I actually had a really good chat with him.
Big Terry.
But speaking of some older Whitecaps in the MLS era, when we started recording this podcast, it was February 1st. And February 1st is the day that 3 old Whitecaps players all celebrate their birthdays. So shout out to Alain Rochat, David Osted, and Steven Beitashour.
Ah, I love how you keep track of that still.
Oh, I had a good.
You always wish them happy birthday. I genuinely think that's so sweet.
I had a good. I messaged Alain. To my disappointment, he is not going to make the Canada-Switzerland game at BC Place.
Oh,
because that would have made that game even better.
Oh, we could have had him on the show. We could still get him on the show, mind you. Cool. Well, it's been a long show. I won't say too much. Just try and stay positive, Whitecaps faithful. It's not the end of the road. It might look a little doom and gloom just now. It's a little doom and gloom just now, but there's still a lot for this to play out. Let's focus on some on-the-pitch stuff. Cheer the guys on. Hopefully, we had all this stuff at the start of last year, and look what happened on the pitch. Hopefully, it's the same again.
There's still time.
There is still time. And until next time, thanks for listening. Take care. And as always, Mon the Caps.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers, away from the numbers.